Welcome in, everybody, to week 9 of the Fantasy Football Sunday Social Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. Yeah, it's not called that. I just wanted to improvise. But here with me, as always, to my right is Dylan Clemons. And then we will not be having Alan on today, given his top 3 bets. Unfortunately, he had to cancel on us. That's all good. Things happen. We are very considerate here at the F6P, so we understand, Alan. Hope everything is okay. But that just means you guys get Joe Bond right away. Top 5 ranker over here at Fantasy Six Pack. How are the both of you doing this morning watching this Chiefs, Dolphins game over in Germany?
Bored? This game sucks. Why do we only have 14 points? Come on.
I know. It hasn't been great. Offenses have not been good with 2 pretty good offenses. So it's one of those overseas games, man. It's just flat.
Yeah. Morning, guys. Oh, it does still feel early.
Mute my phone here so it doesn't buzz the whole time I'm on air. I'm sure you guys already heard that.
Before we jump into it, guys, make sure you do hit that like and subscribe button down below. And if you want to know when we go live, hit that bell up top, and then you'll be notified every time we get one of our shows going live or even coming out, because we got something coming out pretty much every day of the week, guys. Make sure you go check that out. And then if you really want to get at the inside info, make sure you go to fantasysixpack.net/plans and then sign up for a F6P subscription where you can, have access to all 3 of us. You can annoy the crap out of Joe like I do on a daily. Or you can argue with Dylan like I do on a daily. So, I mean, that's just the fun part. You can actually win your money back, pretty much in the first slate if you're listening to Dave Eddy, Chris Robbin, and Keith Fleming over there in the DFS chat. And then also Alan with his top 3 bets of the day. But yeah, just make sure you go check that out because there's a whole lot going on there. Plus, you got fantasy basketball starting up. So, we got you covered there. Man, what else, Joe? What am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something here.
I wasn't listening to you.
All right, this is why I know him.
I'm just waiting for you to ask me questions. I'm sitting here trying to tweet everything out. So, no, DFS projections. We got betting advice. We got rankings, award-winning rankings over there. Our IDP
customizable questions
too, by the way. Start sit stuff. We got YouTube is kicking ass. We got stuff like you said coming out every single day, man. And then we've got other sports too, and even baseball is going to be picking back up here with all the free agencies kicking off next week or tomorrow. That's going to start flying off. So we're going to be analyzing those trades and free agent acquisitions as well. So
I'm sure you guys got articles planned for those as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So I mean, without further ado, then Dylan, let's jump right into it. And I want you to question Joe's rankings live. Get him flustered.
All righty, let's go, Joe. The first guy I want to talk to you about is a quarterback, Geno Smith, Seattle Seahawks. ECR on our website has him as QB 13. Joe, you're down on him. You got him as QB 17, and he is taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Is this pretty much matchup based? Because Baltimore's defense is playing very well to start the season.
Yeah, I mean it's a couple of things, right? Geno really hasn't been that good. Points per game, according to the fantasy data, which is the source I use for a lot of this stuff.
We love you, fantasy data.
He's 23rd, so not good. Then you add in the matchup. I mean, you could argue he could go lower than 17, but it's a really rough week for quarterbacks, as we know, with all the injuries, and then just. There's a whole lot of nonsense going on with quarterback right now, unfortunately. So, it's not good. Hopefully you've got better options than, look, honestly, man, I'd start like a Minshew over him, and even like a Bryce Young. It's not good for Geno this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. He just hasn't been as efficient as he was last year in the red zone. I've seen that he's just struggling there big time. And I think you see it in his weapons production as well, with DK struggling a little bit here, and he even saw a bunch of targets last week, but it's still definitely not great. We want Geno to be better, that's for sure, but might not be this week. Looking at the running backs though, Joe, and when I was just looking at your rankings, and I know ECR at our website has him number 1 all over the place too, I was just a little surprised seeing Alvin Kamara there. What are your thoughts on AK this week and as the number 1 running back?
Look, flat out, he's the safest running back on the slate for, various reasons. We've got, a couple guys on bye. Mostert has been kind of down the last couple of weeks, and obviously we're seeing that this game already. It's just not going very well for Miami, and they're falling behind. So Mostert may, unless he falls in the end zone a couple of times in the red zone, may not give you what you're hoping from him. Yeah, I mean, really what it comes down to, man, is Kamara is just seeing a crap load of targets. I mean, 13, targets is 14, 3, 8, 14, and 5. I mean, he's just, especially in PPR formats, I mean, he's carrying you, just with that alone. So I'm all over him. The Bears defense, got a little bit of boost with the trade for Sweat, but they're still not good, and they're allowing a ton of points to running backs in the air as well. So just give me Kamara all day there.
Yeah, definitely. Kamara's
we're about to get a Chiefs run back. Holy cow. Defensive touchdown this game. Oh, was that a Hill fumble?
Yeah, they just ripped it out of his hands. It looked like,
my gosh. And then they gave it, they turned around and handed it to number 6, whoever that is. And he just sprinted down the sideline. Oh my gosh.
With 33 seconds left in the half.
With the Dolphins going downfield to score too. Yeah, that's not good at all.
That's a momentum changer right there going into halftime.
Yeah,
definitely.
Miami didn't have any of that anyway, so
nope. It's gone.
All
the momentum is gone. Yes, it has. Joe, our next guy here I got for you is everybody's waiver wire darling. Once we found out Dameon Pierce was ruled out, ECR running back 26. Joe, you have him as 21 this week. You definitely have him as an RB2 this week. So, what are your thoughts here in a matchup against the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bucs are actually pretty decent against the run. So the matchup isn't there. But I mean, you just got to play the volume game at this point. I mean, look, 21's not great. I mean, like, you're really not expecting a ton from him there. But again, we're dealing with quite a few bye weeks, some injuries still to a lot of these running backs. Just question marks across the board in this like middle-ish of the RB2, RB3 range. A lot of guys sort of going in the wrong direction, like a Brian Robinson. I mean, I had Najee down there pretty far, but I mean, he kind of, he had like his best game of the season, shockingly. That whole Cleveland backfield is sort of a mess. We still don't really know what to expect there. There's just a lot to kind of go. I don't really know. Like, it's hard to trust a lot of guys in there. So if you're going to give me a guy who, has already seen his carries climb the last couple of weeks, 12 and 10.
Yep.
And that's with a healthy Dameon Pierce. I'm going to put him above a bunch of those guys who are sharing the workload. I don't really think there's anybody there in Houston that I'm worried about taking work. I mean, what are we talking about? Mike Boone?
Yeah, right.
Aria Gunabawale?
Yeah.
Yes, I've practiced that name a few times.
I like it, man. Yeah, and we've seen this offense rely heavily on the run recently. So I would not be surprised I would not be surprised if he saw 20 touches today.
I mean, I'll say this though, like, the Tampa's good against the run. They're not as strong against the pass. So maybe we see a shift without Dameon Pierce there, because like, I don't know if, we're going to expect 20 plus touches from a Singletary. I don't know if he's that kind of running back.
Gotcha.
But, you can give him 15 to 18 maybe total.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still a boost from what he's been getting. Definitely. And that, that's just going to put him up the ranks there a little bit. Plus, I expect him to be involved in the red zone when they get in there now, because they don't have Pierce. But I actually do expect the Texans to pass a little bit more this week.
Yeah, I can see that.
They should. But
let's hope so, because I remember talking about last night, the last 4 games, CJ Stroud's only been thrown at 29 times a game compared to 38 through the first 4 weeks.
Right.
So like the volume has gone down big.
It's been strange. I mean, it's not like he hasn't been.
It's like a philosophy change. It was weird.
I don't really know what they're doing over there. He was killing it too. So,
Yep.
okay, like all right.
And they're winning some games. So it's
Maybe
definitely.
they let them throw 44 times against the Ravens. Granted, they were down. I mean, maybe it's that they've been in closer games, and so they're just trying to spread it around a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, early on, they were losing against Baltimore by a lot. They were losing against the Colts by a lot, so they kind of had to. I guess you kind of hope that Tampa gets up on them, and they just have to pass. But I don't know if that's going to happen because Tampa's Tampa.
Yeah, they can't score recently either. So, looking at the wide receivers, Joe, and I feel like this name keeps popping up every week. Every week you're here. That's Amari Cooper, wide receiver 26 ECR. Joe, you have him as wide receiver 16 as he's taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Why so high on him?
I mean, first off, it's Arizona. They are awful on defense, and I reluctantly say this: they're getting Watson back this week, so we just have to hope he doesn't get knocked out in the first quarter again. Although him and PJ Walker, so if he has to step in, have shown chemistry, right? And so you're looking at it and you're seeing the targets, you're seeing, and it's starting to turn into a little bit more production, right? Early on, it was 8 targets, 2 and 4 catches. Yeah, the yards were there. Last week, 11 targets. Yeah, still only 6 catches, 89 yards. He needs to get in the end zone.
Mhm.
But, you know, the production is starting to show. And so with Watson there, it's still, I know everybody kind of cringes with Watson and kind of there's a lot of question marks there, but you still figure that is an upgrade from PJ Walker. You know, we've seen some, you know, we've seen good games from Cooper with Watson in there, like really good games. And so you just have to hope that continues. And this matchup is very juicy.
Yep. I like Cooper as well this week. The next guy, probably not someone who's big time owned in leagues, except for maybe waiver wire pickups this week, and that's Demario Douglas, ECR wide receiver 39. Joe, you have him as a wide receiver 3 this week at wide receiver 35 in a good matchup against your Washington Commanders.
Yeah, look, I know the matchup is super good. This just doesn't feel like an offense that can take advantage of really anything. Mac Jones is bad. They're not using Stevenson correctly. They're still just, you know, look, Mac Jones has 2 solid weeks, one against Philly. So look, maybe there's a sign that he could take advantage of Washington. And then he kind of did it against Buffalo, which was sort of weird. I just look, he couldn't do it against Miami last week. He hasn't done it against Vegas. I just you lose your best receiver, and then everybody just goes, oh well, it's got to be Douglas. It does it. I mean, like I know we're all thinking the volume goes there, but I said this on a show on Friday that I did for the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Who's to say it's not Juju? He's a veteran, right?
Yeah.
It's Devontae Parker. Like they're going to rely on this kid who basically. When was the last time Bill Belichick was like, "Okay, rookie, go"?
Yeah,
not very often.
Right there. Sure.
It's very. It would be very shocking to see Bill Belichick put this kid in like the wide receiver 1 role, you know, and just pepper him with targets.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it. I just, again, maybe he does lead the team in receiving, but what does that really mean? What, 5 catches for 50 yards?
Yeah, it could.
I mean, I guess it's okay, but that's not really anything that you're going to get too excited about. He's more of a DFS play, in my opinion. I forget, Dave and Keith were talking about him a little bit on Friday, I believe. And seen his name thrown around a little bit in our Discord as kind of a. I think he's cheaper. I don't know the prices. They'll be on, I'm sure, to talk about him a lot there. So, you know, that's where I think we go with him. But I get it. People want to go with the super upside play, and he's the new shiny toy.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And then this last question for the wide receivers. Just wanted to touch on the Rams, guys. You still have Kupp as a top 10 guy, still have Nakua as a top 20 guy as well. How do you feel with Brett Rippon at the helm this week? Do you think he's going to be serviceable enough to produce for both these guys?
I'm very nervous.
Yep.
Look, you've just got to play on the fact that the coaching staff, without Kyron Williams, right? You've just got to hope that Rippon knows I got to get my ballers the ball, right? Get Cooper Kupp the ball, just slants, hooks, screens, whatever, get Kupp the ball. The offense is going to not be as efficient. They're not going to be on the field as much. So I think Kupp is clearly the guy that you want and need to start still. Puka definitely falls down the ranks quite a bit. He's also dealing with an injury, so we don't really know if he's he's expected to play, but how effective is he going to be? Is it going to linger? It's a knee injury, so that kind of that hurts him quite a bit.
Yep, definitely.
I'm nervous about it, but you're not sitting Cooper Kupp. I'm sorry, you're just not.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense there. And then let's talk about this last guy, man. He probably just has to be an absolute nightmare to try and rank, Joe, every week, and that's Taysom Hill. You have him ranked as your tight end 13, even after 3 straight top 10 finishes, and he's got a decent matchup against the Bears. You're not buying in on him this week?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I dread ranking every single week. The problem is, man, you rely, how many times does he actually touch the ball a game, right? And so it's like he touches the ball a dozen times a game. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he's worthless for you.
Yeah,
he's just scored the last couple of weeks, right? He had 1 target, 1 reception last week. He ran the ball 9 times. I think he threw the ball once. He just scored twice. Yep. How often are we going to rely on that for a guy touching the ball, a dozen times? It's hard. He's really tough to rely on. I get the upside, and I know people are starting him. I've got him behind, the Trey McBrides and the Cole Kmets and the Jake Fergusons and the Logan Thomas. If you want to throw him in front of them, I have no issues doing it. But I'm a little conservative with my rankings. I do admit that. I go, his floor is a lot lower than those guys, in my opinion. His ceiling, though, is
definitely
like Travis Kelce's ceiling. So, because he just gets in those packages and he just bowls over people in the red zone and he scores. But it's just are they going to do that? I don't know. So it's every week feels different with him, and it's just guesswork. I feel like there's been weeks in previous seasons, right, where it's oh man, the last 3 or 4 weeks he's done this, and this, and this. So this is the new trend, and then they don't use him, and you're like, what?
Gives you a 0. Sure.
And then the next week it's right back to where it was, and you're like, I have no idea what's going on here. So yeah, I get it. I get.
Yep,
just definitely to rank.
Yeah, it's just the same old story with Taysom Hill. But
I'll be honest, I'm almost never right with this guy.
And that's totally
last week I split him down to 25 because Juwan Johnson was back, and I was like, oh yeah, Juwan Johnson's back. Yeah, they didn't use him when Juwan Johnson was healthy. Yeah, they decided nah, never mind, we're not gonna use Juwan Johnson now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who do you have more fun ranking, Taysom Hill or Rashid Shaheed? One either gets a touchdown and is relevant, and the other one either gets a touchdown and is top 10 you said, Dylan, and then
the Shaheed stuff.
He's outside the 50.
Fantastic.
He's outside 50 wide receiver.
Yeah, he those types of guys. The Brandon Cooks back in the day, right? With this was, post like he got 15 targets a game, Brandon Cooks, those types of guys, they are hard to rank. They really are. You're playing the ceiling with those types of guys, and so
yeah, you are.
They really are. They're tough to rank. When you just look at pure volume, they get dropped down the ranks. You want to play the touchdown game. He gets one or two of those deep bombs caught. He's going to win you a week.
Yep. His poor man's Deshaun Jackson. So I kind of this week you might need to use him. So
absolutely.
So, yep. Good stuff, Joe. But before you get out of here, how about you go ahead and plug some stuff?
Yeah, it's just, seeing a lot of the same stuff that Mike was talking about earlier. So check us out on fantasysixpack.net, where we got you covered for every single week of the NFL season. You can find me on Twitter at F6P_Joe, the number 6. And jump in our Discord, become a member over there, and we can help you win your leagues.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I'll try to stay in the back of the in the back room here and help out with some stuff as much as I can. But good luck, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good one. Good luck in the rankings. Peace. All right, now it's time for the start set hour, and we're gonna welcome on to welcome on to this show someone who joins us pretty much every week. He wasn't here last week, but that's all right because he's here this week. What's up, JJ? Week, 2 weeks ago. My apologies.
Yeah,
it's all working together.
2 weeks ago, I was golfing on the beautiful Washington Coast Peninsula, but yeah, last week I was here.
Thank you for reminding us.
Next week I will be gone as well too. Also on the last golfing trip of the year, so
maybe I was just
a little sad, but also got a little Wisconsin love for you guys today. Like kind of a random story, but one of my wife's friends got to go tour the Bucs Stadium and all that, and they had like leftover championship hats and T-shirts, and she doesn't watch basketball, so she's like, "Do you want this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I know some guys." So nice, here we are.
I like hats. Why not?
Yeah, sure. It's free. It's like I'm basically Giannis right now, is what I'm getting at. Like, it's from the championship. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, hopefully one of us can be Dame Lillard and set you up with some easy ones.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we did get it started early here in the comments with the questions, guys, and we love it. Keep them coming. We're gonna answer every single one of those first, and if you happen to run out of questions, it's okay. We got a well of questions that we can dive into. But yes, you guys are the priority, so keep them coming. But Clayton wanted to start it off here. Does he stack Derek Carr and Shaheed this week, or CJ Stroud and Tank Dell? Carr and Shaheed play the Bears at home, and then Stroud and Dell play the Buccaneers also at home.
Give me Card Shaheed here. I'm in on Rashid catching a big ball this week and maybe finishing high once again.
Yeah, I mean, Rashid Shaheed is like a guy that he just needs like one ball thrown his way that he can turn that into like a 14-point play for fantasy. But I'm going to go with the guys that I think are more talented at each spot. So I'm going to go Stroud and Dell here. I've been big on these guys since rookie draft season. They've came in, they've been pretty solid. Look at those first few weeks when Dell was really kind of starting to get into a groove. A little bit down last week, but, had a good amount of snaps played last week. So I think he's kind of past that concussion. I think this is a week we'll really kind of see him get back looking like he was early in the season. So yeah, give me the Houston stack here.
Yeah, it's a tough one here. I mean, obviously the Carr Shaheed one I think has a higher ceiling because we saw last week Shaheed played 18 snaps. That's my fear. But he scored and he was wide receiver 8, I believe, on the week with 18 snaps, which is just absurd. It can happen, but it's unlikely to happen like that again if he does only play 18 snaps. So just give me the safer side with Stroud and Dell. All right. Gary. So is Mahomes winning the battle of MVPs? I don't know if he's winning it, but the defense sure is for the Chiefs.
What was that third touchdown? I was getting computer restarted and everything, and then
they were going down. Yeah, they were going down to score, and he hit Tyreek on like a 10-yarder, and the guy just ripped the ball out of Tyreek Hill's hands and ran it for a touchdown.
Oh, shit. Okay. Nice. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That Kansas City defense, man, they are good this year.
Yes, they are. Dion, what's up, my friend? How are you doing?
What up? I'm excited to help you pick your starters in your superstar teams you have this week.
Yeah, no doubt. Marcos, what's happening? Mike, I'll pull them up. Mike, you just read the questions, my friend.
All right. Half point PPR here. We got Dalton Schultz, Taysom Hill, Kyle Pitts, or Jake Ferguson, and he says thank you already. I'll take this one first. See, you got a decent option here with Pitts to roll out. If you didn't have Pitts, though, I'd be definitely telling you to roll out Taysom Hill with just Ferguson, Hill, and Schultz as the options. If that was the case, play Taysom Hill. Fuck it, you're in that territory where it's just like he can get you 2 touchdowns, where maybe Schultz and Ferguson get you 1. So, but you got Pitts in this case, and you get Heineke starting. I said it last night on the show. The Commanders at the time, I think they were the football team, had 3 tight ends playing when Heineke was the full-time starter. And basically they were all going through injuries, but the accumulation of all 3 of their points came out to tight end 7 of the year behind Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
So, I think Heineke can definitely give Pitts a solid day today. And this is a little bit of hope, but at the same time, it's like you're hoping with Taysom Hill, you're hoping with Dalton Schultz, and you're hoping with Ferguson as well. Yep. So it's Pitts.
I'm hoping for a top 5 week for Pitts this week, and I think it could actually happen. Top 5 tight end, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, but it's at least top 10, I think.
I got Pitts too. Pitts on that one. Outside of that, I would actually probably lean Schultz on that one as my number 2 there. You take away last week, I think he had 3 straight weeks of double-digit points. Wouldn't be surprised. I guess I'm just
to touchdowns though. You take those touchdowns away though, and those double-digit weeks don't happen.
Catch one behind his back from Ritter. We've seen Heineke put it in front of receivers before, so I think
that's what I'm hoping. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
This one's Pitts for me too. Dean wants to know Pitts or Ferguson. It's Pitts for me.
Yep. Absolutely. Next one from Dean here.
Amari Cooper or Marquise Brown here. Deshaun Watson's expected to play. Take that as you will. But Marquise Brown was all right with Dobbs. I'm curious to see how he does with Tune, because he did, Tune did hyper target Trey McBride in the garbage time. So I don't know if that's going to be a sign of things to come. But I would still prefer Cooper in this one, but it is close because if Deshaun Watson gets knocked out again, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, give me Cooper. It's I had to think about it.
Splitting hairs.
With Clayton out there, it's tough, but I don't know. I feel like Cooper's fairly quarterback proof. Had a down week last week, but before that was in double digits out there with Jay Walker. So I'll go Cooper here. Yeah. If
the Cardinals still had Dobbs starting, does it change your opinion?
I
think it does change my opinion more.
They had a good connection. It seemed like
if Dobbs was still there,
Dobbs, or if it was Kyler. Give me Brown there, but
because it's Clayton Tune, rookie quarterback, new connection.
Just want to see it.
See it first. Go with Cooper on this one, Dean. It is a close one, though.
Yep. Give me Amari Cooper as well. I'll lean on Joe's rankings. He had him as the top 16 guy this week, so I'll take him. This must have been what we were talking about, Gino. JV says he's got Baker over Gino this week. Love it.
Who they got? Cleveland, Arizona. That's not crazy this week, I don't think.
Baker plays Houston. Yeah.
That's not crazy.
Seattle plays the Ravens, who, they made Jared Goff and that Lions offense look silly.
A tough matchup. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Brett, it is official. Brett Rippon will start today.
Nice. Yeah. Any other actives and actives?
That was the first one.
Yeah, we still got a few minutes till then. Next one from Dion here, though, Mike.
He wants to know who he's playing in his flex: Kareem Hunt, Michael Thomas, or Tutu Atwell. All right, you're scratching Tutu Atwell with a Rippon start.
Michael Thomas here for me. Jerome Ford had a full practice on Friday. I think it's going to be at best a 50-50 split, if not Ford taking back over the backfield there.
I agree with you there.
It's not going to be a 33-33-33 split again like it was last week. That was wild. I think it'll
be like 60-33. 33. Check my math on that. 60, then you split out the other 40.
Yeah,
60, 20, 20. There we go. Math is hard. It's early out here.
It's hard. Math is hard. Oh, man. I don't want to play the number 2 running back in an offense, but it's the better matchup. They could throw on the Bears. That's obvious, but they may not have to. They can just throw it to Kamara, dump it off, and that'll just suffice for the day. So, in a great matchup against the Cardinals, I actually lean Hunt on this one because it is going to be more of a 60-40, maybe a 55-45 type of deal, and you're playing the Cardinals. If Deshaun Watson isn't 100%, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a red zone carries galore for Hunt and Ford.
Yeah, totally. Next one here from Dean.
Pitts and
or
then
Schultz?
Schultz. Off
Yep,
that last question. Pitts one, Schultz two.
Pitts is the one you want to start this week. I mean, Dean, we are being hopeful here because Taylor Heineke is a more competent starter than Desmond Ridder. But yeah, just play the talent. You know, the ceiling's a little bit better. And the real reason we're on Pitts this week is because we think the floor is going to be much better.
Should be raised. No Drake London.
Exactly.
So
Another reason.
He's hopefully he's the number one target in the offense. Next one from Dion here.
All right. He wants to know, is he flexing Adam? Oh my gosh. Is he flexing
one's
Adam
pretty-
Thielen? Joe
This
Mixon,
one's
Jerome
easy for
Ford,
me
or
here.
Addison? It is easy, but these
Mixon,
options are
right?
great for a flex.
Really? No, I'm going Thielen
It's-
here, man.
It's between Thielen and Mixon. It really is. Mixon, I mean, that Mixon finally came alive with Joe Burrow coming alive. So
Mhm.
they're playing the Bills. The Bills are the one spot you can get the Bills is on the ground, guys. I mean, they're 11th best matchup against running backs on the ground. So I do actually lean Mixon in this one as a safer play. But I mean, if you are down from maybe Derrick Henry or someone from that Thursday night game, I can understand playing Thielen, but give me Mixon.
Is this PPR? I guess that would change my answer a little bit. But if it's half or full PPR, I'll go Thielen here.
I don't think he specified, to be honest.
No, fair enough. But yeah, I lean Mixon as well with Mike. Gary said Chiefs 1.5 was like stealing money. Yeah, I tend to agree. I kind of like that line as well, Gary. Even though love the Dolphins though for some reason, got a soft spot in my heart for Tua. So.
They're like the best of like the non-elite teams. It looks like
Yeah.
like as soon as they play someone good, they get shut down. But
Like
anybody besides like the Chiefs, Bills, like they just fucking dominate.
Yeah, they're like the 5th best team probably in football,
Mhm.
maybe 4th, 5th, somewhere around there.
It kind of pains me. It pains me to say it. It kind of reminds me of my Cowboys the last few years. Like kind of struggles
that
against
makes
the
sense,
top
man.
teams,
Yep.
but like anybody else, we usually just kick the shit out of them. But we just can't quite get there with the very top teams. It's kind of has like a similar feel with them right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
that's lack of experience with Tua. Like the only one who's been to a Super Bowl on that team is Jalen Ramsey and
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Jalen Ramsey's been to as Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, the
he went
Rams.
to
The Rams.
That's,
Yeah, the Rams.
That's what it was. I know he was close with the Jags, but I mean, there's not a lot of veteran leadership and experience on that team. Also, I know Dylan and I were talking about it behind the scenes before the show. Like, you stop the run game for the Dolphins, you stop the entire offense.
Yeah,
like it seems like their motions all hinge off that run game for
It's all
getting the wide receivers in the open
misdirections and
space.
stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you stop that run game. We've seen it with the Eagles. They stopped that run game. They dominated them. We saw it with the Bills. They stopped that run game. They dominated them. We're seeing it with the Chiefs. I mean, you stop that run game, they're getting dominated.
Yep.
So they need to figure out more ways to win without the run game. All right. Was this the next question? Flowers, Higgins, Jacoby Myers. He needs one out of those three. And then James Cook and Mixon. He needs one and then a flex. So we're picking three here out of four. 3 here out of 5 guys. Okay. Needs one wide receiver, one running back. Yeah, one wide receiver, one running back, and one flex. So the running back is Mixon. The wide receiver is Higgins.
Yeah.
And the flex is Flowers.
It's correct.
Yeah, agreed completely. I think this is the week that like the Bengals make it a point to try and get Higgins going again, assuming he's back and healthy again. I feel like Mixon's going to have a big workload, like you said, but I feel like we're going to see him get like 3 or 4 targets early, where they're making it a point to try and get him going this week.
Yeah.
All right. And then Chandler wants to know, is he starting? Oh, he's got some rough pickings here.
18-team league, man.
Yeah, you're gonna have
love here. I love
this. This is where you're playing guys out of desperation, and sometimes it works, and you look like a genius. Jay Crowder, Trey Palmer, Jalen Reagor, Darius Slayton, or Jake Bobo for the Seahawks.
I'll take this one. It's Crowder, right? With Curtis Samuel being rolled out, Crowder just slides into that slot receiver role.
I don't know.
Against,
Logan Thomas
New
was used
England.
a lot. Logan Thomas was used a lot last week.
I hear you.
Curtis Samuel.
Crowder caught the touchdown last week, correct? I want to say.
So did Logan. So did Logan, though.
Give me Crowder.
How many targets did Trey Palmer have last week?
That's That's actually
2
who
or
I
3,
was
right?
looking at. Yeah,
It's between Crowder and Palmer for me. I would want to look at the stats just to verify
Palmer-
my answer, but my gut kind of leans Palmer on that one, actually.
Palmer got as many targets as Mike Evans last week. They both got 6.
Yeah.
Godwin got 7. So like, I almost lean Palmer in this one.
My gut says Palmer too. I'm with you, Mike.
Because Baker seems to like him. I mean, yeah, here's the thing. He could have even more points if they've connected on some of the deep shots that Baker has given Trey Palmer too. Like they've missed on some deep shots there. So like all it takes is one of those and Palmer looks even better. So I think it's desperation time, Chandler, but desperation calls for Trey Palmer.
Yeah, you're starting guys like that in an 18-team league, man.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
But now, Jamie, our main man here. Hopefully you don't get silly stringed again, man. I'm with you. Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson? He already knows who Joe has by 3 spots in the rankings.
I hate
he's always auditing Joe.
It's Deshaun Watson, but it gives me the icks.
Ooh, really? I think I'm going Baker here. I kind of want to see Watson back. Like if Watson's healthy, then yeah, I agree. It's Watson fairly easily. But man, Baker's been like a pretty consistent QB too. Like that's been his floor most weeks. I think that I feel better about him putting up a QB2 week than Watson looking like his 100% self based off what we've seen this year.
Joe's behind the scenes, and I'm going to answer this just like how Joe would. All right. Joe's going to say, you know what? The rankings say you play Deshaun Watson here. All right. But the gut feel is with the injury, you got to see it one time, just like you said, Jordan. And he probably would actually be starting Baker Mayfield, even though he's got Deshaun Watson ranked 3 spots higher.
Don't put words in Joe's mouth, man.
I bet that's what it is, though. I bet that's what it is. I bet he has Deshaun Watson ranked higher than Baker Mayfield because that's how he is, and that's what the projections probably gave him as well. And his gut just doesn't want to actually do it. But Brooks, all right. Next question here: Darrell Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, or Keontae Ingram at the RB2 position here. These are all decent, solid options considering how bad running back is right now. At least we're getting to 3 starters as options here. Oh man, Arizona against the Browns, so I'm out on Ingram out of these 2 options. Our 3 options. Packers are a juicy matchup for Darrell Henderson, and then Panthers play
got the Colts.
Colts. Yeah. Ooh, that's not a bad matchup.
I think the right answer here is Chuba Hubbard. We've seen that it's his backfield
the easy
right
one,
now.
Yeah.
With Miles
I think
Sanders.
he's the one that he jumped.
If it was Matthew Stafford starting, it'd be Darrell Henderson. But Brett Rippon starting, it's Chuba Hubbard.
It's Clayton Tune. It's Clayton Tune versus Brett Rippon. I mean, I don't know if that makes too big of a difference for me. But I think I'm gonna go. I'll go Keontae and Chuba. I'm with
you. Don't have to go to Jordan. It's just one.
Just need one.
It's at RB2. Oh, I read that as 2 RBs, not at RB. Perfect.
It's Chuba. A close one. Yep, it's Chuba.
Yeah.
All right. And then Dion wants to know, you playing Josh Downs, Michael Thomas, Tyler Lockett? He needs one out of those 3. And then
give me Downs against Carolina as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lockett's intriguing to me. I know Gino's been down, but
Lockett's just been so blah, man.
He has been blah. Carolina secondary
unfortunately, because I like Lockett.
Carolina secondary is no pushover. It's their run defense that you can take advantage of. Downs has been hot lately. I guess you can play the hot man on that one. Give me Downs out of those. And then we have more.
My bad.
Yep.
My bad.
And then he needs Mixon, Ford needs between Mixon and Ford, it's Mixon, and then he needs a flex out of the other ones.
So Lockett, Michael Thomas, or Jerome Ford. Because I'll
go Mixon Downs.
Well, it's I believe it's Downs for your wide receiver, like one wide receiver. He needs one running back between Mixon and Ford.
Okay, Mixon, yep.
Mixon, and then just one flex out of the rest of the options. So you got Michael Thomas, Lockett, and Ford.
Oh, probably Thomas.
I'd probably go Ford, actually.
And this is where we're going to disagree. I think it's Lockett.
Okay.
Bring it, Joe, Mike. What does Joe got as the tiebreaker?
Joe, what do you got as the tiebreaker?
He's not listening. Love it.
That was good. We brought in the 4th man to try and
That was great.
I don't even think you realized he was on camera. All right, Dylan, what's up, man? It's nice to see you back. Not you, Dylan. God, this is the Dylan I care about, not you. Keontae Ingram, Zach Charbonnet, or Gainwell, full PPR. He's leaning Gainwell at home. Ingram obviously Ingram's the obvious play because of the volume. Just don't like any Cardinals against Browns D with Clayton 2 starting, and that is absolutely acceptable. Man, but Charbonnet, I mean, he has gotten a little bit more work. It was one game, though. That was the thing. It was one game. It was small sample size. Like, they could easily just go back to Kenneth Gainwell if he's feeling healthy. I mean, not Kenneth Gainwell, Kenneth Walker. If he's feeling healthier, and then Kenneth Gainwell deals with DeAndre Swift. I still think the volume play is Keontae Ingram, and the safest play is him because here's the thing. The Cardinals could only score one touchdown today, and it very well will most likely be Keontae Ingram.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
I really don't know. This is rough.
I'll go Sharps here. I'm just gonna take the best talent. Like, it's coach speak, so I don't want to look too much into it. But Pete Carroll loves him, man. He was gushing about him in press conferences this week. I think that he could have it his way. I don't know. I feel like if he had it his way, he's going to feed Walker and Charbonnet a lot. I mean, one of the things, a little spoiler, I guess, that Keith and I are going to talk about in my Dynasty show tomorrow is like the Seahawks passing game a little bit, just how much down they are all around. And I think they want to kind of start leaning on the run a little heavier so that way they can open things up for the passing game. And I think that's going to start with getting Sharps as involved as Walker, at least closer to like 60-40. Sharps is good, man. He's explosive with the ball. He's powerful. I think the second half of the season, we're going to see him kind of start to slowly pick on a bigger and bigger role.
Yep, I'm with Jordan here. I lean Charbonnet this week as well. They're going to want to try to help Geno out this week in a tough matchup against Baltimore, and you do that by running both of these two guys who could both be workhorses, so it's nice.
It's just hard to trust a small sample size for me. That's my one thing. Malcolm, next question here. He wants to know Michael Pittman or Puka Nacua this week. It's Pittman.
That one's Michael Pittman, yeah.
I wish it was Puka. Don't get me wrong. I wish it was. Also, Dylan here, slightly projected to win this one. Full point PPR. He needs to know Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas, or Josh Downs. Hollywood with Tune against the Browns scares me. Yeah, I mean, that's anyone against the Browns, honestly, is scary, Dylan. So it's all good to feel that way. And he's leaning Michael Thomas for a nice floor. Downs he loves, but injured. I mean, Dylan, I like the way you think because you're thinking like me. Like, you're looking at the safe play and then you're looking at the moonshot play. I think the moonshot play would actually be more Hollywood Brown in this situation. Just because I don't know, man. I don't trust an injured Josh Downs. Do you guys?
Kind of, man.
Really
he's been seeing a ton of work. I'm thinking Michael Thomas here is interesting too because
it is.
He could be lined up against the rookie Tyreek Stevenson and watching every snap of the Bears game every week. Stevenson's just getting picked on, and if Jalen Johnson's on Olave, so MT could have a pretty solid day. And I agree about his floor, but Josh Downs has just seen a ton of volume too, so that definitely makes it tough here. But I think I slightly go down still.
I mean, Downs saw 9 targets last week.
I would go Downs, Hollywood, then MT, I think. And unless you need 8 guaranteed points, then go MT.
Yeah.
But like if you need anything above that, I think I go Downs and Hollywood. I'm going for the talent.
Dylan also thinks Indy will run all day against Carolina. So
Absolutely.
I need a JT day. I need a JT day.
That's the
I
thing.
hope so,
is
man.
like Carolina is not good against stopping the run. They're number 2 against running back. I mean, number 2 best matchup against running backs. So like Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss are both viable options this week.
Sure.
Malcolm wants to know, and we're getting into nitty gritty now with the tight ends. K. Dotton or David Njoku?
That one's Njoku for me. Njoku seemed to be better with PJ Walker than Deshaun Watson, so I think he does take a little bit of a hit there. But I think he still outproduces K. Dotton this week. So give me Njoku.
Higher floors than Njoku. Yep, higher floors than Njoku. 17 targets the past 2 weeks. All right, Dion. Is this team number 4? Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Jordan Addison needs 1 wide receiver. And then Mixon, flex out rest Cleveland versus. He needs a
Cleveland.
defense. That's what it is. All right, and then he needs to know Cleveland, Las Vegas, New England for his defense. Cleveland play the Cardinals. Las Vegas play the Giants. Ooh, that's a good one.
It's Mike Evans and Joe Mixon, right? Unless you want to slide Nico in there somewhere. But
I'm going Cleveland defense, and then I agree with the other two.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Mike Evans, Joe Mixon, and Cleveland defense on that one, Dion. It is a little chalk, but chalk is right sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Malcolm. Awesome. Keep the questions coming. Pick one. Flex. Zach Moss, Jerome Ford, Michael Pittman, or Devin Singletary. You're sitting Singletary in this one out of these options. I do like the Zach Moss against the Panthers, but Ford also has a decent matchup. Ford is considered the number one running back there, where Moss is probably the number two. So I would actually probably take Ford in this one. It is close between Ford and Moss.
Pittman. Give me Pittman.
I am with Jordan. It's Michael Pittman as well.
I mean, I think he's like number 12 wide receiver PPR scoring this year. Like, I mean, he's been like a consistent double digit and like more closer to like the 12 to 15 instead of like that 10, 11 point range each week for Pittman. He's solid, man.
Mike, kind of what you were saying earlier, I kind of need to see it from Jerome Ford again and make sure that he's good to go off that ankle injury, because that can hamper some. And I don't know if Pierre Strong and Kareem Hunt's definitely not going away. I don't know if both of those guys go away. So a little worried about Jerome Ford. Gary goes Pittman there as well.
He's a Pittman owner, though. He's biased. Dane needs to know. Needs a running back 2 and a flex here. He's got CMC as his running back 1, but he's on bye this week. So Swift is his RB2 or 1 in this option.
Yeah.
In this scenario. Options are Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Ramondre Stevenson, Amari Cooper, and Zay Flowers.
I don't do this one's tough between Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson.
Really?
Damn, Amari.
I'm
Cooper
going Jones.
Too. Sorry,
I'm going Aaron Jones for my RB2 here.
It's Aaron Jones as the RB2. That is correct.
I feel like this is the week he gets going. He's my really strings pick this week. I'm taking the over 11.83 Aaron Jones, putting it on wax right here.
Yep, so Aaron Jones is the RB2 unless Dylan disagrees with us, which of course he will. And then a flex position out of Ford, Stevenson, Cooper, and Flowers.
Give me who's Baltimore? Who do you say Baltimore's got? Seattle. And the Browns got Arizona.
I still go Ford.
I hate benching Zay, but I'm gonna go Amari as my flex here.
Man, I'm curious to see what Joe has Ford ranked at, because I do
actually no, I don't. Give me Zay. I'll go Zay at flex. Sorry, give me Zay.
I'm gonna take the running backs. Give me Aaron Jones and Mondre. Give me both of them. Sucks sitting Zay and Amari Cooper, to be honest with you, but that's where I lean.
Yeah, tough matchup for Zay against Seattle secondary too. I know they've been giving up a lot of points, but still, Tariq Woolen and Devin Singletary.
I feel like the volume's going to be consistent there for him. Like, he's like the number one target in that offense. I mean, I think he's gonna have a decent day. I think there's gonna be a little bit of scoring in that game, a little bit more than people are thinking. Not like a 40-40 game, but I think it's gonna be up in like high 20s for both teams there.
Nobody else. I'm getting updates, but nobody really key. All right, Dion. He's got Mike Evans, Jacoby Myers, Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas. He needs one of those 4, and then Las Vegas defense or Baltimore's defense. It's Baltimore's defense.
And Mike Evans, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, it's Mike Evans, but man, do I want to play Gabe Davis this week, guys?
Yeah, he was the other one I was looking
I think
at.
It's a Gabe Davis week, I think. Like, he loves prime time, and he's on prime time, so. And then Dame, lastly, I mean, hey, if this isn't the last question, something else pops up, please put it in there. We'll answer it. But he wants to know Hurts or Lamar Jackson, Dynasty League, PPR. You get the Eagles against Dallas's defense or Lamar Jackson versus Seattle's defense?
I think it's Jalen Hurts.
I don't know how you bench Hurts, man. He just, even though he hasn't been playing that great, he's like QB 2 or 3 on the year still. He's so consistent.
Ike made the great point yesterday on the show that we did, and it was just like, even when he has bad weeks, he's still QB 5, QB 6, so it doesn't even matter, man.
Yeah, you start Hurts. The only time you don't is when he's injured.
Yep.
All right, Dion. Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Sam Howell, Adam Thielen or Higgins?
It's a
Super flex spot.
super flex spot.
Okay, it must be a super flex spot. I mean, typically super flex, I still want. Oh man,
No, it's
Thielen and Higgins though are two
yeah, I
decent
know.
options.
I think it's either one of them, or we just go Sam Howell.
I think it's Sam Howell. Like I'm starting him in my one QB. league.
Washington against the Patriots.
I'd say, yeah, that's tough. I think it's either
It's the
Howell or
volume.
Thielen for me. It's
Thielen's so safe for sure, but give me Howell. I think he's got a higher ceiling slightly as the quarterback.
39 passing attempts on average the past 3 games. Like
he's like what, like QB 11 on the year, something like that, like QB 11, QB 10. Howell.
Ooh, touchdown Dolphins.
My boy Cedric Wilson. Let's go.
Thanks for the help there.
Howell is QB 8 on the year so far.
Okay,
so,
even
yeah,
better.
You play Sam Howell.
Yeah,
it's just a higher floor. All right, Malcolm, pick one here. He wants to know flexing James Cook, Jerome Ford, Josh Downs, Chris Godwin, or Zay Flowers. And this one's actually easy for me. It's Godwin.
I'll go Godwin as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice, quick, easy one.
And then Keith wants to know, is he starting Brian Robinson Jr. or Darrell Henderson Jr.?
It's the Patriots against the Packers for Darrell Henderson, and that matchup's really good. So give me Darrell Henderson here, even though he kind of sucks, but
I'll go Brian Robinson here.
Oh man, I'm trying to look it up. How many?
I think it's got New England.
Well, no, he's not getting ready. Like Brian Robinson, the past 3 games is only getting like 9.3 rushing attempts, and Darrell Henderson's at like 12 plus. So, yeah, give me Darrell Henderson in this one. It's not pretty, but yeah. All right.
Sorry, man, my bad.
You're all good. And then Clovis. That's a great name. I have never met a Clovis. All right, Mike Evans or Chris Godwin?
It's Mike Evans.
Give me
I mean, Chris Godwin. Yeah, Godwin's come on a little hot lately out of the 2.
You crazy assholes.
PPR definitely Godwin. If it's standard by chance, then yeah, I go Evans. But yeah, half or full, give me Godwin.
Wild.
So past 3 games, Godwin's wide receiver 21 and Evans is wide receiver 25. Both averaging about the same amount of targets, except Chris Godwin's getting about almost 1 more. So yeah, give me Godwin. He's got a higher floor recently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Gary Dylan, I hope he's facing you again. I know he's not. That was last week. He wants to know Alexander Madison, Devin Singletary, Gerald Everett.
Cut it off there. The next one's a tight end question.
All right, so Madison or Singletary? That's Madison for me.
No, Singletary for me.
Yeah, man, Damian Pierce out. I think that Singletary. I think I'm going that way.
And then Gerald Everett or Taysom Hill. We shoot for the stars at that point with Taysom Hill, right?
Yeah, at that point it's Taysom Hill. But really, you guys have played
Jordan doesn't want to say it. I see his face.
I don't know, man. Like if Everett's fully healthy and playing, I almost want to go that way. I feel safer about him getting targets, but like you said, if you need a big performance, like that's going to be Taysom. Like Everett's cap is probably 12 points at like the best, where if Taysom could have a stupid 30-point game. I've seen him have before.
Yeah,
Tua got a touchdown. Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, we said that, man. Listen.
My bad. I don't listen to you. Well, I mean, man, I don't like Singletary against Tampa Bay's run defense, guys. That's tough. And Madison took the reins back last week, so I leaned Madison in that one, even though you guys leaned Singletary. But I agree with Taysom. All right, Benjamin, what's up, guys? Hey, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show. Hopefully you come back next week if you like the answers. He's got 2 questions today. Half-point PPR leagues. Cole Kmet or Logan Thomas? All right, let's just answer that one quick right there. That one's Logan Thomas for me with Curtis Samuel out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good point. Yeah, I think so too. Even though I do like Cole with Secret Bajan, man. So, but yeah.
Kmet's underrated, man.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is, but he's better with Justin Fields.
He's probably the number 2 option in the passing game. Kmet.
I would say on this one, it's close, honestly. Like if you have a gut call one way or the other, but I say I go with Logan Thomas, but yeah, it's close to coin flip territory for me.
And then we need to pick 2 out of these guys: Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Gabe Davis.
Just give me Kupp and Mike Evans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to start your studs. I can see the argument for Davis, which I think that Mike's about to make.
I was just gonna say, here's my only argument I'll make for him. You have a player like Cooper Kupp you're playing as your wide receiver one, super safe. We'd like to think, especially if Rippon is starting, you'd think they'd funnel the targets towards him. So, like, with somebody that safe, fuck it, shoot for the stars. Go Gabe Davis in that matchup. That's what you know what I mean. Like you're already playing a safe guy in Kupp. I mean, why play another safe guy in Mike Evans? Go.
Do you guys know offhand like what the last few starts for Rippon's been like? I can't remember for sure, but I feel like he's more of a threat with his legs than through the air, right? Like that's kind of like what he brings to the table. Like if I remember right, and like I could be making that up completely. Like I feel like it's been a while since I've seen him get like quality, extended reps, and I feel like if I remember right, he was more of a runner. But I feel like at the same time it could be mixing that up with Driscoll, so I don't remember.
He is not a runner. He only has a career.
Am I thinking of Jeff Driscoll? Maybe
you might be. Yeah, he only
or
has
John Wolford, maybe.
Is like one of those old school, just like random backups that was like a sneaky good runner. Yeah,
John Wofford, I know was for the Rams for a minute there.
Yeah, it's definitely not Brett Rippon. He has 2 career.
I think it's
yards.
Driscoll. I'm thinking of.
Driscoll.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's Jeff Driscoll that I'm thinking of. Man, not a name I thought I would say today on this show.
What up, Tyler? Yeah, you're not the first guy who said they want to hop on the show, so maybe at some point here we'll get some fans here. And you're always taking shots at DJ Moore, man, but I would like to give you guys a shout out. Tyler, I think you coached the team, but our alma mater, making it to the semifinals in the Wisconsin State playoffs. So shout out to those
Prairie
guys.
East. That's who they got to play now.
Next Friday. That's pretty awesome.
I don't know any of those schools, but go Kevin Moraine.
And Gary just throwing out Josh Palmer's out. And then Tyler back again. Matt Stafford is out, so Kupp loses.
That's where I'm kind of like, I can see the argument for Gabe there. That's a tough one.
I get it, but at the same time, like if Brett Rippon's out, like he's a veteran. He's gonna target the best guy on the team. That's why I look at it. Like even though it is a stock down situation, he's still gonna target the best guy on the team.
You got the other questions pulled up, Mike, or no?
I can get them pulled up quick here.
I got them up, so I'll just start. Jonathan Hendrickson. We got Josh Downs, Taysom Hill, Demario Douglas, full point PPR. Josh Downs, Taysom Hill, Demario Douglas.
Josh Downs, Taysom Hill, Demario Douglas. Josh Downs, Taysom Hill, Demario Douglas. It's probably Downs.
It's Josh Downs. It's Downs, and then Downs.
How do you have the comments ordered, Dylan?
I just have it as top comments. It's just what happened when I clicked on it. Next one here: Cooper Kupp, DK, or Aaron Jones?
It's Cooper Kupp.
I think it's Cooper Kupp there still for me. I'm not. That's gonna be late.
It's between him and Jones, but it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. I actually think it's between him and DK, but. Yeah, I'll probably go him too.
Dion Rippon.
I pulled it up. Jordan, where you at on that with the Boise State guy?
Shit, man, I don't know about that. Like I said, man, I don't even know, man. And I was busy looking it up, and it is Jeff Driscoll, career average over 5 yards per carry. That's what I was thinking of there.
Right on. Next one from Dalton. We got Puka Nacua, Zay Flowers, Rashad White. You got to sit one here.
Oh, man.
I said Rashad White, but I don't love that answer. But that's where I'm sticking to. I think you said.
Yeah, I think that's the right call there.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'd rather sit Puka with those options. Rashad White's been actually decent, and he's been getting the targets lately. But yeah, if you want to sit Rashad White, I get it. But I'd be sitting Puka personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Next one from Gustavo. We got Marquise Hollywood Brown or Gabe Davis.
Give me Gabe Davis. Fire him up.
Yeah, give me Gabe here.
Give me big game Dave. Primetime Dave.
Yeah.
Next one. Taysom Hill, David Njoku. I think we answered this one a little earlier, maybe, but I'm gonna go.
I don't think it was Taysom Hill. It was Njoku and Cade Otton.
No.
Man, that one's closer, though, because you get Njoku. He's a little bit more safer. I actually lean Njoku in that one. being
I
safer.
think it's Njoku pretty easy on this one. Yeah.
Like if you were like Njoku's basically the cutoff at that tight end spot. Like if
Mhm.
it's anywhere past Njoku, yeah, fucking play Taysom Hill.
I mean, we've seen Njoku have 30-point games. Like he has that same ceiling that Taysom Hill has, and I'd argue he
He's
has
a
a
freak,
freak
man.
floor too. Yeah. So
Next one, Nico Collins or Chris Godwin?
Oh,
Godwin.
man.
I went Godwin here too. Yep.
It is Godwin, unfortunately.
Another
Ooh.
interesting one.
It's a Tank Dell week this week in
I
Houston.
think I'm on with you. Are you about to talk Bryce Young, Dylan?
Yeah, go ahead. You can take over then if you want.
All right. Kyle wants to know Bryce Young or Jordan Love. Bryce Young against
solid matchup for the Panthers.
Yeah, against the Colts.
Pat
Love
fumbled. Dolphins ball.
Oh wow. Things
Come
going
back.
down in Frankfurt.
There's
Dolphins
a lot
fans
of time
going
in this
crazy.
game, man.
There is. There's a full quarter left, and the Dolphins can score fast. So,
What was the question again? Sorry, I got distracted on the fumble too there.
Bryce Young or Jordan Love? Jordan Love faces the Rams. Young second.
I guess Bryce Young. I mean, I was in on Jordan Love this year, and
feel.
after those first 3-4 weeks, I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" And then he just looks like a completely different guy. Like I don't know if it's a case of just like he was awesome until teams got like a little bit of tape on him, and then after that they figured him out, or if we're going to see an adjustment. Like I don't know. I feel like Matt LaFleur coming in I thought he was one of the better coaches, so I still kind of feel like they're going to make an adjustment. We'll see Love correct some this year, but until I see that, man, it's been rough. So I think give me Bryce Young there, with the caveat that if Aaron Jones is healthy and they can finally kind of start running it through him again, I do believe that's going to help Jordan Love from the fantasy side too, just because Jones is a pass catcher and just the defense having to focus on him being 100% again, I think is going to open it up a little bit for him for the Watsons and Dobbs and Jaden Reeds.
Makes sense.
So season long, I think I'll still take Love, but this week give me Bryce Young.
Man, if Aaron Jones is playing though, I lean Love because, like you said, if
he's playing.
When Aaron, if he's, that's why I lean Love in this situation because Aaron Jones is the reason Love was good the first couple weeks. You know,
the first week, yeah.
Well, yeah, especially the first week. So like I do lean Love because Aaron Jones is there, but if Aaron Jones wasn't, I'd be going Bryce Young. All right, Dylan, did you give an answer? Was it Bryce Young?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, Jason wants to know T. Higgins or Tyler Lockett?
That's T.
Higgins. I think it's a Higgins week, man.
Let's go.
Let's hope so. Oh, we do have a live one here from Benjamin.
Nope, that was just a continuation for his other question that I will pull up here.
Well, this is the what was the?
There we go. Let's just go with this one.
I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure I saw him say a question here. He wants to know Eagles defense or Ravens defense today. Eagles against the Cowboys. Ravens against Seattle.
Ravens.
That one's Ravens as well.
I'm going Baltimore. I don't think my fandom will let me say the Eagles in this matchup. So Ravens.
I'm hoping CeeDee Lamb gets over 14 half-point PPR fantasy points. So I don't
it's crazy that like the offense has looked good when we've started targeting him. It's like a crazy concept, Mike McCarthy.
Whoa.
Bit going.
Whoa. Using your best players, the offense looks better. Who would have thunk it?
I look at what they were doing with Jamar Chase in Cincinnati with the offense going. I'm like, why don't we just do that with him? Like he's not that level of player, but he's right below that. Like he can carry our offense. And then sure enough, we start feeding him, we start winning. Crazy.
I know, crazy, right? It's always crazy.
Went on a little rant there.
No, you're fine. I mean, coaches do it all the time. I mean, look at over in Atlanta right now. They're playing Tyler Algier over Bijan Robinson. So,
and if anybody understands a Mike McCarthy rant, it's you, Mike.
It's just true. I've had my fair share. Next question here. Craig wants to know Quentin Johnston or KJ Osborne. Chargers play Monday night against the New York Jets, so that's a tough matchup against the secondary. And then the Vikings have Jaron Hall against the Falcons.
Yeah, give me QJ here with Palmer out.
Same.
Can trust the better quarterback there.
That's a close one, yeah. The quarterback's the tiebreaker, even though it's a tougher matchup. I'll take Quentin Johnston. All right, Paul wants to know, is he starting Devontae Smith, Puka, or Josh Downs in his flex spot?
Devonta Smith, reluctantly.
I think I agree with that.
How dare you say reluctantly?
How dare you? What do you mean?
It's Devontae Smith, Paul. All right, Frankie needs to know here. You got to sit one of these guys. TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Kincaid, Darrell Henderson, and Jerome Ford.
No way I'm sitting Kincaid. I think I'm
Williams
sitting
and
Henderson out of that
Hawkinson.
group.
Yeah,
Really?
no way.
Ooh.
You're not sitting. I'm not sitting Hawkinson, not with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting Henderson of that group.
That's
gonna
fair.
set
I
my
just like the
talent.
matchup a whole lot for Darrell Henderson. That's why I think they'll lean on the
I
run
just-
quite a bit.
I worry that this week we're going to see somebody completely different in that backfield get like the bulk of the carries. Just I don't know, man. I just
Royce
don't
Freeman?
trust that backfield.
Starting
Like,
Royce
yeah,
Freeman. I'm starting
sure.
Royce Freeman in the league, so hopefully he
Or
falls in
whoever
the
else
end zone
John
twice.
McVay just signed off the streets this week and brought up. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want any part of that Rams offense outside of the Cup
Yeah.
and Puka.
Yeah, I'm sitting Ford. I like Henderson's matchup better than Ford's matchup against the Cardinals. The volume favors Ford a little bit more than Henderson, and because I think Ford will get the volume, but I think the matchup's better with Henderson because the volume's still there for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ooh,
I like
kicker
this question because he doesn't even say their names.
Like
they're not even
are
real
not people in my league. Is what I said. Like this guy understands, man. I literally said it last week. Kickers aren't real peoples in my league.
Cameron,
I have an opening next year. Let's get this guy in my league.
Who's the Saints kicker? Because I know the
Let me help
Chargers
you.
is Dicker the kicker.
Cameron Dicker the kicker, Bailey Groupie for the Saints, and then
Bailey
Young Wei Koo
Groupie,
for the Falcons.
I always pick Koo out of everybody else, man. I feel like that guy's just automatic.
If anybody is a kicker and is a person, it is Koo. So I'll go Koo here.
Yeah, and they're at home against Minnesota. Yeah, give me Koo.
Yeah.
I actually like Cameron Dicker the kicker here.
On the road in New York?
Yes, because if the Jets defense is good in the pass secondary as they are, they're going to be holding a lot of field goals. You know what I mean? Like the Chargers offense is going to move. It's just, are they going to get in the red zone? That's where they've been struggling. Is in the red zone.
What if the weather shit in New Jersey? That's what worries me with that one.
Yeah, but you can't always be taking just dome kickers.
I do.
Look what Who says you can't?
Look what Graham Gano has done for the Giants, and he's not a dome kicker. Now he's on IR now. But
he's also had a bad 2 weeks.
That's because he's on the Giants, let's be fair.
No, the Chargers are a team that moves, and they struggle in the red zone, so that's why I lean Cameron Dicker. The kicker.
They're not real people, so it doesn't matter. Whatever.
They're not real people. I love it. All right, so next one here. Jason wants to know, is he starting Kyle Pitts versus Minnesota or Jake Ferguson versus the Eagles, half-point PPR? That one's
Pitts over Fergie Ferg this week, yep.
Yeah.
Same with you, Jordan?
Yeah.
And then, start your studs here, Jason. He wants to know Justin Herbert versus the Jets or Sam Howell versus the Patriots. That one's Herbert.
Herbert, yeah. I'm not benching Herbert, like, pretty much ever.
It's hard to bench him. I get it. Howell was QB1 last week, but you can't bench Herbert. And then Amari Cooper versus the Cardinals or Josh Downs versus the Panthers. Half-point PPR.
Ooh, Amari Cooper.
Yeah, Amari. If Downs is fully healthy, I think you go Downs there, but the fact that he is a little bit banged up is enough, I think, to go Cooper there.
All right, and then we got Michael here who wants to know, are you starting Puka, Jahan Dotson, or Tyler Lockett?
Still Puka. Give me Puka.
Puka, yeah.
I want to ride.
Don't love it, but
I want to ride the hot hand of Dotson, but it's Puka.
Yeah.
Please stop him. Oh no, Raheem Mostert touchdown.
Let's go. Needed that in our redraft league for the fantasy 6-pack over. Needed that right there.
Anybody but him.
Anybody but him. And then Mostert here. Let's go.
Are you playing Zach, Dylan?
Yeah, I ain't winning this week.
Yeah, finally. Piece of crap is it. He's got like bottom 3 points scored against him. And he's just getting all the lucky matchups. This week he finally gets someone who goes
good,
off.
Jordan. Got a good defense, man.
Yeah, you got a good fantasy defense, not a lot of points. All right, then Brian wants to know Trey McBride or TJ Hawkinson. That's Hawkinson.
Yes.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit on the first part. Who was it, Hawkinson or who?
McBride.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that just saved Mostert's week. He only must have had 1 point or something going into that run because he's only got 8 points.
Nobody on the Dolphins was getting any space. They were doing all their like misdirection, and there's just nothing for him.
Yeah, not good stuff.
They're getting the running game going. Might be a game now.
Yeah,
They need to.
Chris Jones made a dumb play, a personal foul penalty after the play to keep the drive going for the Dolphins.
Wasn't it like
too.
3rd and 20 at one point on that drive?
Yeah. And then Chris Jones just came over and shouldered an offensive lineman, and they threw a 15-yard penalty. So we got a ball game in Germany though, 21-14.
I need to get my TV mounted up here.
Chiefs.
That way, when it looks like I'm looking at you guys, I'm watching the game.
There you go.
Now you
I
can
don't
tell
even care.
I'm watching it on my phone down here.
I don't even care if you know I'm watching the game. I'm watching it.
All right, Mike, we got 2 minutes. Let's just rapid fire a few.
All right, Brian wants to know Puka, Tank Dell, or Michael Thomas, Christian Watson, or Demario Douglas?
Jeez. Puka.
Tank Dell second.
It's between Puka and Michael Thomas, but Puka start. Tank Dell or Chris Godwin, half point PPR. That's
Chris
Godwin for me.
Godwin.
All right. Josh Downs, who plays at the 4 p.m. games, or Hollywood Brown, full point PPR.
Downs.
I'm really struggling with this question. That one's tough.
Yeah, you said Hollywood in the comments.
I know, and I guess I'm going to stick with it. Because that would make me a liar.
I don't like it, but I'll go with Downs there. All right. Oh Lord. 2 questions here. He's got a stream of QB and a tight end. Here are the QB options: Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones.
It's Mac Jones, right? Against Washington. Okay. Baker against the
Houston.
Texans.
Or Colts versus the Panthers. I actually lean Minshew on that one. Well, no, I lean Baker.
Yeah.
All right, and then tight ends are Logan Thomas, David Njoku, Hunter Henry, and Cade Otton. That one's Njoku for me.
Njoku, yep.
Ramondre Stevenson or Aaron Jones? God damn it.
I know. What do you pick here?
Jones.
Did I say
Jones.
Did I say Stevenson or did I say Aaron Jones?
You said Stevenson slightly.
Yeah, I don't love it.
It's Aaron Jones.
That's the tough question, man. That's
Jerry wants to know PPR flex needs one: Singletary, Taysom Hill, or Josh Downs.
Singletary, Taysom Hill.
Downs.
Josh Downs. It's Downs, unfortunately. I hate it because he's injured. He's just questionable, but expected to play. Do I start Puka Nacua or Darrell Henderson at the flex?
Puka.
Yeah.
Get me and Jordan out of here.
I think that'd be Darrell Henderson, actually.
Hold on, we got one more. Gabe Davis, Demario Douglas, Marquise Brown, one flex, full PPR.
Give me some Gabe Davis.
I'm gonna go Pop Douglas here.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna go Gabe here.
Gabe Primetime Davis.
Right. Yeah.
All right, guys. So thank you for, joining me like you do every week. It is really fun. I enjoyed it. Jordan, plug some stuff before you head on out here. What you doing?
Yeah. So tomorrow morning I will have our Sunday recap. Where I recap basically all the Sunday games and then the Thursday games. A couple of quick takeaways for fantasy. Things you need to know to move forward. And then tomorrow I'm going to be joined by Keith, who's actually coming on here in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit of Dynasty. Talk about some of the big quarterback changes that we've had this week, kind of what it means. A lot of dynasty relevant players that had quarterback changes this week, Devontae, Justin Jefferson, all the Falcons guys. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to take a look at 6 of the wide receivers that were drafted in rounds 2 through 4 of startups this year. They're just kind of disappointing and kind of the lessons we can take away from that and who we think is going to bounce back there. So that'll be coming out tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, recap morning and then video tomorrow afternoon.
Definitely check that out for sure.
Absolutely. And then Dylan, what do you got going?
The waiver wire stuff. Got a video on the channel that comes out Tuesday. And then I have the waiver wire article as well. And then catch our show every Friday or Saturday, whatever day we end up doing it with Mike and Ike, the Gabe preview show. But
Mike and
yeah,
Ike.
that's it for
All
me.
right. And you guys got to work OT. You get one more question here. Jose Vega wants to know, pick one full point PPR for his flex. DeAndre Swift, Michael Thomas, Nico Collins.
That's
Swift.
DeAndre Swift. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Free overtime for you guys.
All right, guys.
Sweet.
Peace. Have a good one, guys.
Later.
Good
You
luck
too.
in your lineups. All right, guys. Now what you all came for to make some money. All right. Chris Robbin, Detroit BC is not here. He's feeling a little down on the weather, but that's all right because we got Keith Fleming here with Dave to rock the DFS lineups for you. But as you are have been waiting for, here they are, Mr. Dave Eddy and Keith Fleming. Peace, guys. Enjoy it.
Peace,
What's
Michael
up?
LaPlant. He's got a Looney Tunes shirt on and rocking a vape. I don't know if that's
You can
better
call me a
than-
hipster.
I don't know if that's better than.
There's nothing hip about you, Mike.
Is that better than wearing in Atlanta? Like,
Hey,
over
easy.
there?
Easy. It's way too early for that.
Looney Tunes or the Arthur
Being a
Smith
Falcons
led-
fan makes you feel loony. That is for sure.
Well, let's hop into things here. Sundays are always kind of the most fun. I think I prefer the Sunday shows over the Friday ones because as I talk, about with Chris, the Friday show is kind of like the rough draft of our essay before we turn it into the professor. We think we know what we're doing, but we're still working through things. Come Sunday, it's final draft time. We've polished that turd up and we're ready to go. And we always got to start with these inactives because that's pretty much the main reason, that this show exists is, we've got all the information in front of us now. We can give our final and concise thoughts. And a lot of times that, revolves around these inactives because that can obviously change things. I think we've been pretty lucky for the most part this year where we've gotten all the news that we pretty much typically have needed well in advance. But it's not uncommon, especially in years past, where you get some surprises here with these inactives and all of a sudden, the slate gets flipped on its head. I'm sure you're familiar with that kind of nonsense, Keith. But
I'm well aware.
yeah, but let's run through some of this. Some of this, I'm gonna hit on a lot of it because just because I'm playing something or you're playing something doesn't mean that that's all everyone else is playing. So I like to just hit on a little bit of everything, and I'll let you know, if it kind of impacts anything I'm doing. We start with Michael Wilson in Arizona. He is going to be inactive. I don't know of really anyone that was in on the Arizona passing game.
What?
We got Clayton Tune starting. So I think that's probably a big old whatever, but it's news. Probably a little bit bigger news out of Arizona is just that Emery DeMercado was going to be out. James Conner is still not back, obviously. He's still on the IR. So Keontae Ingram, I don't know what you're going to get out of him, but, especially for those redraft players, I think that makes Keontae Ingram interesting. If you want to get absolutely crazy in a large field MME tournament, Keontae Ingram's going to save you a bunch of money. I don't hate it, but again, large field is where I'm looking there. And then we talked about this on our Friday show, Keith. Drake London is out. I think that
Hope his groin gets better really soon, Dave.
I'm sure his wife does as well.
Took a helmet to the crotch last week. It was
not
pretty brutal, man.
It's not where I want to be taking a helmet. But Drake London being out opens up, a few things. I think that, I think a lot of times when we get, these inactives, people think that there's going to be a direct replacement sometimes. So when Drake London's out, I think a lot of times people are going to look and go, oh, well, Van Jefferson, Kadale Hodge, those are going to be the guys that benefit. I think, and I think you probably agree with me here, and I'll let you say your piece after I say mine here, but I think that probably helps Bijan more than anybody. And I think you kind of led me to that on Friday. But being the Atlanta guy, do you want to talk a little bit about how London being out is going to affect the ancillary pieces on that offense?
Sure. I mean, it's over 7.5 targets this season. And remember that week 1, he saw 1 target. So since week 2, it's close to 10 targets a game. So it is. I mean, if we're going to pass the ball, that's going to play a factor. I think you're going to see, though, the Falcons, the first way it's going to impact Bijan is obviously I think they're going to try to lean on the run game if they can. Arthur Smith has proven before that he's not afraid to run it 30, 40 times if they can effectively do that and stay in the game. What has happened in a lot of these games, both this year and last year, where they throw it more is they either get down early, right, or they just can't get anything going. But with the Bijan thing, it's just I thought I remembered with Heineke last year in Washington that they had 3 backs that were averaging like over 2 receptions per game. It was crazy. You had Gibson, McKissick, and Robinson. So I went back and looked. He had 259 pass attempts last year. Over 24% went to running backs. Bijan Robinson is in the, if not the most talented pass catching running back.
Yeah, he's right up there, right?
He's up there, right?
Yeah.
And if you take away the mess of the Tampa game, he's seen over 5 targets per game, had over 4 receptions per game. what I love about, and this is why I not only enjoy doing shows and stuff with you, but just being able to have you as a reference to talk and text and stuff, was you brought up the point, well, Keith, is that a Washington thing or a Howell thing, which I didn't even think about. Well, we looked at it this year, and that number is only at 14%. So it's not like it was Washington's scheme that was necessarily just funneling those balls to running backs. That's actually a Heineke thing. And it also stood up last week. He threw 21 passes in the second half. 23% of them went to running backs. 4 of Bijan's 5 targets came in the second half. And I just think that, again, Bijan's got down to a really kind of reasonable price for a guy that has the ability to, obviously, I know he hadn't had a monster game, but he could have a monster game at any time. We know the talent at 6,100. If I know he's going to get 4 to 6 receptions, which I really feel confident he's going to get that this week, I think it's easy for him to justify in cash games. And then again, in even bigger slates, because he has the upside to potentially go bananas. Cal Pitts is the question for me, though, in this. Are they going to, try to force feed him? I don't trust it enough to do it. I've been burnt too many times. But again, in bigger contests, I don't mind rolling with him, because obviously they got to throw the ball to somebody other than just, Bijan.
Yeah, and I'll get into my thoughts a little bit more on that when we get to running backs. But let's move on through here. Brevin Jordan's out, so I think if you had any interest in Dalton Schultz, I think that's going to bump him up a little bit. I think that's an interesting GPP play. Robert Woods officially out, so Noah Brown, Tank Dell. I guess you could combine them, whatever. Yeah. They get another week of, probably more Noah Brown than anything, but they get another week of no Robert Woods to try to make an impact there. Another one that I found pretty interesting, and I think I'll cover my thoughts when we get to running backs again, but Dameon Pierce is out. Devin Singletary becomes a very cheap starting running back option. Like I said, I'll cover that when we get to receivers, but Dameon Pierce officially out. Devin Singletary leads that backfield. Puka Nacua, he is active. He was limited in practice all week long, but he is playing today, and I don't mind him at all. The problem is Matthew Stafford's going to be out, so Brett Rippon's going to be playing. So I think that makes both Puka and Kupp honestly interesting from an MME perspective. Cash-wise, without Stafford, I think you'd be kind of crazy to go that direction. But like I've said a million times, in large field MME, anything's possible. And I think that stuff like this really does make it interesting. And I'm not saying I would be stacking Rippon with these guys, but I think as one-off plays, or even if you want to, correlate it as, a run back type option, I think it makes it interesting too. Devontae Parker's out. So we got Tyquan Thornton's going to be active. We're going to have Juju active. We're going to have Demario Douglas. I know we're both going to talk about Demario Pop Douglas in a little bit, but the Devontae Parker news, him being out, is gonna help those help that Douglas chalk. Curtis Samuel is going to be out. I talked earlier when we spoke on Friday about how I think that really bumped up McLaurin for me. That definitely made Logan Thomas even more in play for me. And then when we get to the afternoon games, Laviska Shenault is out. I've kind of been on Jonathan Mingo the entire week anyways. This just kind of furthers that along. And so, if you were, looking, to do what I'm doing and, kind of lead on these stud running backs, if you had some hesitation on Jonathan Mingo, I think you can kind of let that go now and just, it's a punt play no matter how you look at it. So we're not expecting him to put up 30 points, but I think that the volume will be there for the price to make it a good play. DJ Shark, he's also looking to be questionable. So again, that would make things even better. Then it becomes Adam Thielen and Mingo are going to be the guys. So that's something to keep an eye on there with Shark. I think rather he did play, just because I don't want Mingo to get too pumped up. Like I don't want a 40% Jonathan Mingo, not that I think he would get to that point, but just the theory behind I'd rather he was at least out there, even if it was just a decoy or whatnot. Kind of the biggest one that I'm looking at is going to be Josh Downs. I think he plays. He is questionable. I do have a decent amount of him in my lineups because I do like Gardner Minshew this week, and he's a really natural fit with him for MME purposes. And then kind of the last one, just Darren Waller's on the IR, which makes Daniel Bellinger this week, especially, the absolute minimum priced on DraftKings tight end. If you really need to go that route, I don't hate it. I'm never going to argue with, a minimum price tight end in cash, especially if they're going to be seeing snaps. I don't know what he's going to get for volume, but the snaps will definitely be there. So if that's the route you want to go, you can. Not in my cash pool because I'm going other directions, but, I wouldn't be mad at it, Keith. So I know when we talked on Friday, neither one of us had a whole bunch of plays just because it is kind of a crappy week. And I think, at least with my process, the cash lineup kind of built itself. I spent the morning building MME lineups, so I can speak a little bit more to that here on this particular show. But why don't you run me through what your thoughts at quarterback are, Keith?
Okay. I am either going to be going with Dak today in lineup, so I know you're not crazy about, but this Eagles team for cash just they've really struggled with QBs and receivers. That's gone back a long way. I think that Dallas is not going to be able to stop Philadelphia's offense. I think there will be points scored. And the Eagles are just so good against the run week in and week out that it's going to force Dallas to throw. And I think there's a little bit of a value in a slate where there's really three, in my opinion, like upper echelon quarterbacks, and then everybody else. Dak is $1,500 cheaper, than Lamar and obviously Hurts. Then the other guys that I'm looking at would be, Bryce Young. You've really kind of talked me into Minshew the more that we've talked. But my favorite one is Mac Jones. And I know it's, people are going to say it's risky, but against Washington, it's not been risky. Since week 2, 21 points or more by every single quarterback that has played them. That has included Desmond Ridder, who had 3 turnovers against them. That has included Tyrod Taylor. They are so bad versus the pass. And then on top of that, they were so bad versus the pass with 2 of the best pass rushers in the league on the field at the same time, and Sweat and Chase Young, and both of those guys are now gone. And I just think that they're going to be able to do enough to definitely justify his price at $4,900. And Demario Douglas, who again I know is a chalky play, but he's going to be in every one of my lineups. Like the volume, the matchup, everything is too good. By doing an 8,900 QB receiver stack against teams on DraftKings that are 31st versus quarterbacks and wide receivers allows me to add some of these, expensive guys I really want. Like I can have Kamara and Barkley in a lineup. I could put AJ Brown or CD Lamb in that cash line. Like you have so many places you can go. So those are kind of the ways that I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I mean the Dak thing, to me it's a game theory kind of situation. And I feel like you can kind of put Dak and Mac Jones into a very similar bucket this week because you've got 2 guys who are going up against, really generous defenses to quarterbacks, right? Obviously the main and obvious difference is twofold. A, Dak is much more expensive, but Dak also has significantly better weapons, and we've seen him do it more than we've seen Mac Jones do it, right? The game theory side of me says, well, but I'm not only am I paying up for Dak, but I'm also getting a much higher owned Dak. So even though kind of, a lot of people look and say, well, obviously Dak is the better play. For MME purposes, I would say I'd rather play Mac Jones. And as a matter of fact, Mac Jones is my main MME quarterback this week because I'm getting leverage off of the field by going Mac because people are going to be going other directions. I don't love it, but I don't have to love every single play in MME, because some of it is just simply, for leverage. With that being said, pretty much everyone that plays Mac is going to be playing Demario Douglas. So, you've got to also be able to embrace and eat chalk sometimes. Sometimes that's what you have to do. And I think that Douglas this week is an example of good chalk because at his price, I don't think his ceiling is crazy. I mean, he's not going to get 40 points today, but we need a little bit more than the 3x that we need in cash. So I look more for at least 4x out of guys. And I think he very easily is going to, if he got 16 points, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be disappointed, but I
Last
wouldn't be
6
shocked.
games, number one receivers versus this defense, 44 receptions, averaging 141 yards per game and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an example of where I think, the chalk is fine. But, but I've had a lot of questions about, why I'm not in on Dak, why I'm not in on Lamb. And we talked on Friday about how Dak is a different quarterback on the road than he is at home. And I know a lot of quarterbacks are like that, but for him, it's extreme. He is like, for his career, basically like MVP level kind of quarterback at home. On the road, he is like well below league average, borderline even a startable quarterback. And obviously in any one given week, especially against a really good matchup for a quarterback in Philly, anything can happen. But you've got to take stands each week. You can't play everybody, right? I say that all the time. And there's just a lot of reasons for me not to play Dak. And when you've got someone who's going to be pretty popular, if I can very easily poke massive holes into it, I would rather just go different directions. So, we haven't really even talked about the guys that I'm in on for cash. And it's pretty simple. It's Gardner Minshew, who became a late addition for me. And it's simply because with the cash locks I wanted to have in play, I wanted to play Jordan Love to begin with. And a lot of people are not in on Jordan Love. But again, I'm looking for a guy that's going to get me 3X and is, if he is maybe Jordan Love has been in real life for DFS purposes, he's been hitting 3X pretty consistently. So I didn't mind that. But the couple $100, $300 to be exact, difference between Love and Minshew came into play because if I wanted to be able to get Douglas in there, I had to drop from Love, and I had no problem dropping to Minshew, who I think is probably a better play in the long run anyways. But I did have Jaden Reed in there originally, and it was nice to have correlation that worked with guys that were in my pool and the salaries lined up. But that's just simply what I'm looking at in cash. It was either Minshew or Love. Started off as Love, worked its way to Minshew, and I'm very happy with that. From an MME perspective, real quick, I talked about how I'm in on Mac Jones. I think, like you said, Bryce Young is an interesting one. I'm still going to have a little bit of Minshew, and then I think Jalen Hurts is also going to be, a guy that I have some interest in. So what about running backs for you, Keith? I know this is where we disagreed a little bit on Friday. Sounds like we're still in that same boat, which is totally okay. But where are you sitting with running backs?
Well, there's basically 4 guys, and this is a week where I'm spending up at running back.
Yep,
I'm going to have probably 3 running backs in every one of my cash lineups. To me, Barkley and Kamara need to be in every lineup. It's just unbelievable matchups. The more I've read too on the Giants defense versus Aiden O'Connell, it's a really great matchup. I forgot that the Chargers got 7 sacks versus Aiden O'Connell in his only other start this season. And if you don't think that Daboll coaching staff is going to use that and bring pressure, and the Giants proved last week versus the Jets, we'll throw for -9 yards and stay in a game. It's okay. We don't have to throw it. I know Daniel Jones will be back, but I just think Barkley, he's also been, just a great fantasy running back the last 2 years. Anytime Daniel Jones plays, even this season, he's had a couple of monster games. It's a great matchup.
Kamara, so much volume, man. Yeah. Like you pay for volume in cash. And I think this is a week where you can get 3 high volume players in your cash lineup.
Kamara, to your point, same
Absolutely.
thing. 17 rush attempts in his last 3 games or more. So he's getting the rush attempts. And then we all know he's scoring 12.4 points per game just in the passing game since he's came back. That's just a treasure trove in DraftKings or any PPR formats. And the Bears stink. So I'm going to have him.
Fair enough.
And then the other 2 guys for me, Bijan, I know kind of brought you more over to it. And again, it's just it's the passing thing. I do think he's going to be more involved in it. And I think that, again, if the Falcons get up, it could just mean more running. And with the Vikings, it looks like not going to play Dobbs at all. God, I hope the Falcons can freaking win this game if they can't get rid of Arthur Smith. But the other guy for me is just Jonathan Taylor. And I totally understand your concerns and, everybody about the, how much usage is he going to get? It's just, it continues to go up. It's gone up each week. Last week was the highest. It was over 60% snap share, over 50% route participation. And, Moss had his lowest. It was 30% snap share, 15% route participation. I think it's going to be closer to 70 this week for his snap share if he stays around that, and the route participation. And the Panthers are, in my opinion, the worst run defense in the league. I know the Broncos are technically worse, but again, if you take away, I know you can't just take away, but in one game they gave up 7 rushing touchdowns and 5,000 yards to the Miami Dolphins, to where the Panthers 130 yards or more in every single game. Every team that has played them, their running backs have ran for 130 plus, and they've given up 14 rushing touchdowns in 7 games. Taylor is already up to 6 in yards per carry at the running back position. He looks healthy, and I just think that this is the perfect week for him to just have a feast. And I do think that because of the matchup and the fact that he's averaging about 18 touches per game in the last 2 weeks, I think he'll get at least 18, 20 touches. If he does that versus Panthers team, he's going to have a really good day.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't like Jonathan Taylor. I just don't like Jonathan Taylor for cash, at least in this particular week. When I went to go build, my single entry lineup, the 2 guys that I started with and I've got Kamara everywhere. He's my silly string pick for this week. I've got Kamara locked into everything. So my single entry started with Kamara, and then it was Jonathan Taylor, because I do think that his ceiling is phenomenal. He could put up 40 points. I keep using the 40. I don't know why, but
hopefully it's going to bring some 40 points for these guys we're talking about. We'd like that.
But I could see he could score 40 points this week and I wouldn't be shocked. However, he could also score 10 points this week and I wouldn't be shocked. And I don't like that for cash. Again, it's the same thing as like the CD Lamb play, where I get it. I just can't get there. There's other things that I can play and be happy with. So for running backs, for me, it started off with Kamara at the beginning of the week. It's continued to be. He is my absolute lock. And I like volume, like we've talked about, already tonight, like I've talked about for years. It has always been volume over matchup. And that's a way of, just simply saying, we're chasing opportunity. And I've got 3 guys this week that not only are going to get the volume, but don't have a bad matchup either. So we already talked about Saquon Barkley. That guy is the Giants offense. Daniel Jones is back, so that's going to be helpful. Darren Waller's out. Maybe that opens up a few more catches. I don't know, but I think that Saquon's going to get every bit that he can handle. So I'm interested there. And then Josh Jacobs, for as ineffective as he's been, the dude has always been right at the top of the league. He's been the league leader for a while. Kamara's kind of overtaken him now in receptions, but he gets the ball so often. And if you look back at week 4, when Aiden O'Connell started before, he had 17 carries. Again, it was only for 58 yards, but 17 carries. And then he had 11 targets, which resulted in 8 catches for 81 yards. Now, I don't know that we're going to copy and paste that, but it just goes to show that, those guys are going to be getting a lot of touches today. And I can afford all of them easily because I'm also playing A.J. Brown. So I can afford them easily. I don't have to play some of these other guys that I'm less confident in, which is a big reason why I'm just completely out on Jonathan Taylor. If you took one of these guys off the slate, then maybe, right? Maybe I would say, well, yeah, at his price, I can maybe play Jonathan Taylor, but I don't have to. So I'm not looking that direction. I think also Rashard White is another guy that is interesting to me. Going up against Houston, who's 23rd in schedule adjusted fantasy points to running backs. And he's a guy that, not to the level of these other players I've talked about, but he gets a lot of work out of the passing game as well. That's kind of what he did last season before he took over, the RB1 role. But he's got 13 catches in the last 2 games as well. So I don't know if that's a trend or not, but I did
a lot of that last year, which that's why I am hopeful for that. To your point, was the way he was most effective last year for the Bucs.
Yeah, and that was his role at that part, right? Now he's just the RB1. So they haven't leaned on him so much in the passing game. But again, I don't know if that's a trend or just a fluke, but he can do it. And then, for pay down, Chuba Hubbard going up against Indy there. Indy's 27th in schedule adjusted fantasy points to running backs. He is the unquestioned starter at this point right now. So you expect to see good volume against, a pretty iffy, defense there. So I could see that. And he would probably be the guy, not Jonathan Taylor, that I would play if I didn't have those 3 stud running backs that I could make work. The guy that I'm not interested in that I think people are going to play, and honestly, he's not even in my MME pool, and that's Devin Singletary. I think a lot of people are going to play him because on DraftKings, he's only $4,300. Obviously, that opens up a whole lot of stuff. But going up against Tampa Bay, that's rough, man. They are the
really good
second.
Yeah,
they're number 2 in schedule adjusted fantasy points to running backs, only worse than Philly, who is just completely dominant, which is why they're such a pass funnel. But I think that Tampa Bay wins that game anyways. I know, the Texans are favored, and I think it's going to be a close game, but I know I always say, volume over matchup, but I don't even know exactly, that we're going to get like a 20 touch day for Singletary. And even so, the matchup is so hard that there's other guys that have equal or better volume that I can play that I'm not touching Singletary even in.
Dave, we saw what it is when Devin Singletary is the featured back in Buffalo. It's not good. Like, he's not this world beater. I would rather
significantly better offense.
Right. And I honestly would I like the Rams running backs. If you're going for like a big cash game and a spin down, the Packers have been, it's just for as long as I can remember, they're really bad versus running backs. Running backs do very well. They give them a lot of rushing yards. You got to think that the Rams are going to, try to run the ball even more today with, obviously Stafford out. And I would, rather take a Freeman or a Henderson Jr. who are only slightly more, then honestly go with Singletary, who also is going to be, I think, really high on, to your point.
And I don't need to pay up at quarterback. I'm not paying up at defense. I'm not paying up at tight end. So I'm fine with eating, chalk at running back this week. And I hate to say guaranteeing myself points, but these are 3 elite running backs that we're talking about. And like I said, if you really want to save money, spend a little bit more on Chuba Hubbard, and you've got a much better situation. Right. Again, I get if you want to play Devin Singletary, especially in, large field. I'm not saying that he's unplayable. I'm saying, again, this is another place where I'm making a stand, and I'm saying I'm not playing this super cheap guy that is completely viable that a lot of people are going to flock to. And I'm not going to do it. What about wide receivers, Keith? I think, this is where I've got a lot more in play. And a lot of that is simply because I'm paying up so much at running back that I've got to find some cheaper options at wide receiver. So where is it that you're looking?
Yeah. Again, the first one for me is Lamb. I know we disagree there, but.
Well, yeah. Yes and no. I'm so out on Dak, and if I can't play Dak, then how can I play Lamb?
Dak's last 5 games versus Philly in the regular season, he's thrown 3 or more touchdowns in each and has 17 touchdowns in those 5 games. So there's been a pattern against Philly recently where he's played really well, and that's been both away or home. You're absolutely right about overall. He's a much different quarterback at home versus the road, and it's just they're going to have to throw. But Lamb, the last time he played Philly last year with Gardner Minshew, 10 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. And it's really just about, again, Philly giving up 191 yards and almost 17 receptions to opposing wide receivers on the season. I went back and looked. Top 2 receivers, points scored on DraftKings versus Philly this year. 45 last week, 38 week 7, 20 the lowest of the year. Week 6, that was the Jets. 42 week 5, 41 week 4, 25 their second lowest versus the Bucks. 45 week 2, that was the Vikings, and then 32 week 1 from the Patriots. And Lamb gets so many targets that I just think that there's both a very reasonable floor of 15 to 20 points just because of how many targets and receptions he gets each games. And then because a lot of teams have burned this Philadelphia secondary, he also has, the potential to have a monster game. I really am high this week on Nico Collins. One guy that I do want to mention real quickly before I get to him is Amari Cooper with Watson back. Is a much more intriguing play to me. I think he's a real value at 6,100 because, again, his volume, the points he scored in games, and he's got a great matchup, obviously, versus Arizona. But Collins is a guy that is, and it's going back to last year as well, but so much different at home compared to when he's on the road. This year in road games, 8 points per game. At home, 27.1 points, 2 30-point games already. And Tampa Bay, they're 24th versus opposing wide receivers, which that's not good, but versus number one receivers. They're giving up 7.4 receptions per 52 on the season, 98 yards per game. That's 686 yards. There's been 4 number one wide receivers that have played Tampa's defense this year that has finished top 5 for that week on DraftKings in scoring. And they run a very similar amount of zone and get a very similar pressure rate to the Indianapolis Colts, who was one of the 2 teams that Nico Collins had that 30-point performance against. And to your point, I do think Tampa Bay is going to be up in this game, which is going to mean that CJ Stroud is forced to throw more. They're not, not that really they've been able to run the ball all year, but I don't think they're going to be able to obviously run to control the game with Devin Singletary as quarterback. And running back. And I just think Nico's a really good play. Again, for like the Dak deal, you could go with Lamb, but I also am okay with stacking him with Brandon Cooks, who's another guy I really like this week. He's 4,400 on DK, touchdown back-to-back games, 14 points or more on back-to-back games on DK. Seen 4 or more targets in every game this season. Eagles, again, they're allowing 17 receptions, 191 yards to receivers, 1.5 touchdowns per. And then the last 2 weeks, number 2 receivers have been doing very well. They've had 14 receptions, 170 yards, and a touchdown. Demario Douglas, who we talked about, it's just, it's a slam play. I didn't even mention earlier. He was already 19th among wide receivers in target rate before the Bourne injury. So they were already, when he was on the field running routes, throwing it to him at a heavy volume. So obviously a great thing versus Washington, who in the last 6 games, 44 receptions to number 1 receivers and 7 touchdowns. And then the lower price plays, I know you're going to get into Reed. I like him a lot. I do want to mention Van Jefferson, though, because the Vikings are really bad versus wide receiver. If you're in a millie maker, one of these big entries, Van Jefferson is probably going to get some opportunities to make some big plays. And Minnesota has proven numerous times this year that they can give up big passing touchdowns. I believe it's 6 touchdowns allowed this year of 20 yards or more through the air. And Van Jefferson is, Pitts and Robinson are obviously probably our best passing options today for Heineke. But from a receiver standpoint, it's not even close because the other guys are Hodges and Matt Collins. Last week, Collins was down to just 15 snaps, so they're getting Van Jefferson more involved. So I kind of like that. I love your Mingo play. I think he's definitely a good one to look at. And then outside of that, maybe Elijah Moore would be another guy I'd consider with Watson being back. Yep. So, but I think that there's enough of those, solid plays that I'm kind of sticking to it. I really like Collins. I really like Douglas. They're going to be in a majority of my lineups. And then depending on what I do with my flex, honestly, is, how much variation I'll have on the other receivers.
Yeah. For me, it's pretty easy with my plays with cash. I said I'm in on AJ Brown, and, with this week being so kind of devoid of talent, I've said the entire week that, I'm focused on the guys that are actually studs, getting them in there, and then just figuring out the rest. And, I'm very much all about AJ Brown over CeeDee Lamb this week. That's a hill that I'm happy to die on this week. And if I'm wrong, that's fine. But I don't think I'm going to be, obviously. And to be quite fair, if I could have pivoted from AJ Brown to CeeDee Lamb and been able to upgrade my lineup in some fashion, I would not have been completely against it. I still wouldn't have played Dak, but I wouldn't have been against it, but I can't. It didn't improve my lineup in any way, shape, or form. So there's no sense in downgrading that for me. And then we talked about Mingo. We talked about, Demario Douglas. I don't really need to get into those guys too much, but they were really easy plays for me. And they just happened to work out perfectly anyways, because I did need the savings because I'm playing those stud running backs. So that keeps it pretty simple for me from a cash perspective. The other guys that were kind of into consideration a little bit were Terry McLaurin, because of how, much, Washington likes to throw the ball. Curtis Samuel's out.
What do you feel about Dotson with, like his emergence last couple of weeks and Samuel being out? Do you think he's also somebody maybe to consider in bigger ones or?
In big ones, absolutely. Yeah. I don't have a problem because
would you like that play though is kind of what I meant.
Yeah,
I know you consider him. But.
I prefer McLaurin. I prefer Thomas, but I wouldn't be mad at Dotson. It's going to get you a little bit more unique. So it may not be my preference, but you've got to find places to be different. And so if you wanted to pick Dotson to be that spot, I don't mind it at all. Dylan asks, Mingo or Van Jefferson and MME. I mean, to me, it's Mingo, and it's not even remotely close. What do you think,
I'd
Keith?
probably say Mingo, but again, if it's in a Millie Maker, if you're doing one, I would do Mingo, but if you're doing multiple, I would definitely throw Van Jefferson in one of them.
Yeah, a lot of times, these questions, I mean, the answer is Mingo in a nutshell, in a vacuum, but you've also got to kind of, say, well, what kind of MME are we talking? Are we talking Millie Maker? Assuming that we're talking Millie Maker, which I don't think Dylan is necessarily, but just for the topic of conversation, right. The next question becomes, what's your goal? Right? Because not everyone's goal is to sit there and try to take down these tournaments. A lot of people are more than happy to say, hey, if I can 2-3x my money, that's great. Like, I'm not trying to get crazy. I don't want to lose all my funds. I just want to make a little bit of money. If that's the case, then Mingo, that's why I said Mingo is the obvious answer. If your goal is, man, I've got this money I'm entering this week. I'm just trying to win. I'm trying to win 5-6 figures. Then the answer is Van Jefferson. But you've got to, there's a lot of ways, that the answer
it's like
to that
start questions for
sense.
fantasy, right? Like, it's like, what's your matchup this week? Like, do you need a boom play, or do you need, you know what I mean? Like the conservative 7 points floor to win your matchup. I
mean, it's a little bit easier in redraft because ultimately you're just pretty much trying to score as many points as you can on a given week. So in DFS, there can be a lot of factors, which is what makes it so fun, but also so challenging.
And
and also to answer questions sometimes because, again, depending on the circumstance, either Mingo or Jefferson is a very obvious answer. It just depends on that, specific situation. But from an MME perspective, it's still the guys that I named in cash are actually the guys that are at the top of my list. But the one difference here, and, I think you might like this, is I would rather play Michael Gallup of all the Dallas receivers. And honestly, the reason for that, quite simply, is he's the cheapest. And I think he provides the most leverage. I think everyone who's going to play Dallas is going to be focused on Lamb. Those who aren't focused on Lamb are going to be focused on Cooks, maybe even together. People are going to go ahead and they're going to play, Jake Ferguson as well. I mean, a guy that I'm in an MME. People are going to, go to Pollard as well to get different. You're going to have people that are going to go to Gallup, but that's going to be the minority. So if I'm playing a Dallas receiver today, my interest would be in Michael Gallup. And that's a little bit more of a little bit more of like, an MME type stance. I mean, I wouldn't play him in cash, but that's small and large field MME. I just think that Gallup is the route that I would take if I was going that direction for, all of those variety of reasons. But, Nico Collins, like you mentioned, was the guy I was interested in. Josh Downs is the guy I'm interested in. I think that's your good correlation with Gardner Minshew if you want to go that route.
Just real quickly, what other like pass catchers would you put with Minshew?
I mean, Michael Pittman.
Would you look at their tight ends like Ogletree in a big contest?
In large field, I don't mind it. In large field, I prefer to correlate my tight end with my quarterback. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, the starting quarterback. It could be, the opposing team as well. So, if I'm playing, Minshew, for example, then I'm looking at either a Colts or a Carolina tight end. And that's not a hard and fast rule.
No,
but with tight end, I'm already paying down almost exclusively, right? So I'm looking for a way to make that correlate with my lineup as well. Just kind of a little trick that I've always used, and that's kind of been successful. If the rest of my lineup is doing well, then having a correlated tight end is only going to help. It's just another way to tie break things, because when you get down there, when you're talking about crappy tight ends, a lot, you could take 20 of them, and what's the real difference between them? There's not much difference. So if I can look and I can say, well, if I play Ogletree, he's in that group of whatever, but he is correlated with my quarterback, so I'm interested. Or if you were to go the other way, and you were to say, well, I don't know. I mean, I like Logan Thomas, but is that the guy I want to play? Well, if I'm playing Mac Jones, he's correlated with Logan Thomas because they're going against each other. So that's kind of a way that I like to often break my ties between this large group of shitty tight ends. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm thinking at receiver. I mean, again, it's not a large pool for me across the board this week. So where are you looking at tight ends?
Tight end is a position that honestly, there's only two guys I'm playing in cash games. It's going to be either Logan Thomas or I prefer Cade Otton's, slightly just because the Texans, it's not even close, almost 9 targets to tight ends per game, 7 receptions per, and Otton, we're just trying to get right 3 to 4 times. Your price at $3K, we're talking 9 to 12 points, and he's somebody that catches, probably I'd see at least 4 to 5 passes, and he scores a touchdown or something. Now we're really talking.
And now you're cooking.
Yeah. And, but the guy that actually, Hill was the one that I was looking at for, bigger contest, trying to go somewhere different.
Expensive, but
he is.
I like but to be different though is fine.
Yeah.
Like paying up at tight end is fine.
A little bit too. I forgot that he's back.
Yeah, that's the reason that I would pay up at tight end, right? It's one of 2 reasons. Either A, because I'm getting to Travis Kelce, which I'm basically playing a wide receiver at tight end, or I have the funds to be able to pay up at tight end for leverage purposes. So yes, Taysom Hill, I would never touch that in cash. Like that just wouldn't make sense. But for the leverage of playing him in MME, I absolutely am and fine with that. I mean, a tight end that could get you a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown in the same game. There's one of them, and that's Taysom Hill.
The other guy, though, that again for bigger contests that I keep going back to is Hawkinson. The Falcons are atrocious versus tight ends. I'm a Falcons fan.
Yeah,
I've
you would
seen
know,
it for
right?
years. They don't have anybody that can cover tight ends. And the more I think about it, again, when you have these young quarterbacks without experience, where are they going to go? What are they going to funnel the passes to? And if the Falcons get up, I could see Hawkinson really having one of those games where he has like 9 catches for 60 yards, right? But if he has a score or 2, again, now you're cooking. And obviously he's a talented enough guy where he could put up a better line than that. But I'm not expecting a lot from the Vikings quarterback Hall. And, I just think that Hawkinson could end up being a benefit to that versus a team that really struggles with tight ends. But again, for cash games, it's literally Thomas or Otton, and that's basically the only place I'm looking.
Yeah, for cash games for me, I mean, it was Thomas and it was McBride. McBride's a tough one because the matchup is so difficult. I mean, Cleveland is number 1 against, tight end schedule adjusted fantasy points. But, you would think that the volume should be there. We don't know, though, because, we got Clayton Tune back there. And so, I mean, part of the reason I guess McBride was in the pool is because I can't just have one guy. I would like to give some options. So it was definitely Logan Thomas for me. But I think that McBride did make some sense. Like I said, you could argue that maybe Daniel Bellinger even just because that's a full punt. I would probably rather play Bellinger than McBride just because I can save the cash. And McBride, has got way more opportunity, obviously, but I don't know that he's going to, pay off that salary this week. And then when we get to an MME perspective, it's really Hawkinson and Ferguson are my 2 highest exposures, but I'm pretty well spread out at tight end this week. Hawkinson, obviously, you're paying up for him. But the $5,200 on DraftKings, it's really not that bad considering, he was as high as $6,700 2 weeks ago. Obviously with, the changing quarterback, that's really going to drop him down quite a bit. And he's $1,000 cheaper than he was last week. But that's still, a guy who could and should get a whole bunch of volume. But yeah, I mean, those are the guys that I'm looking at in addition to who I already talked to. It's Logan Thomas for me for sure in cash. And then it's a little bit of a mixture of the guys that, we just mentioned in MME. And then, of course, defense is always the biggest crapshoot of them all. I joke, but I don't, that you could literally take, the handful of defenses you're considering, put them in a hat, and your success rate of pulling them out and playing them is just as well as trying to use, projections or whatever. But from a defensive perspective, what kind of catches your eye, Keith? Where are you going?
I mean, I ended up just going Giants across the board. It's just I can't ever remember a time that I really felt like a defense that was the cheapest defense in the slate was arguably a top 10 or 11 defense, for the week. I'd be surprised if there's 5-6 defenses that end up doing, worse than them. Again, the big thing, O'Connell, 7 sacks versus the Chargers in that first matchup. And the Giants D, it really is impressive. 34 points the last 3 games. And everybody's going to go, well, the Jets. Yeah, they played Washington and Buffalo the 2 weeks before, 2 of the best offenses in the NFL, at least from points scored. So I really do think that that's where I'm going. I know you're going to probably talk about the Pats, who I do like that as well. Yeah. And then I will say the other team that intrigues me is the Raiders on the other side of that game, because we've seen the Giants give up a gazillion sacks, and there's a guy named Max Crosby who's going to be lined up on the other side.
I heard he's pretty good.
Day. Yeah, he's pretty good. So, seriously, look what Seattle did, right, in that game versus the Giants. And that's not even a team that's one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. So I kind of like either of those defenses. Honestly, it's like probably my top 2, but I'm going to go with the Giants in all my cash lineups because of the savings.
Yeah, and I'm always paying down at defense, at least in cash for sure. Again, in MME, everything's possible. So, if you wanted to pay up to be different to gain leverage, I'm all about that. I don't typically have any interest in paying up for a chalky defense in MME. That'll never happen. But I don't necessarily mind playing a super cheap chalk defense in MME. One thing that I found myself gravitating towards more and more has been, the schedule adjusted fantasy points, especially when it comes to defense, because you can look and you can see that the defense going up against the Giants has scored the most fantasy points so far this year. They're averaging 13.2 points. So that creates some, to Raiders, right? Washington's giving up 12.7 points. So they're second worst. So, there's my New England play. We were talking about the Giants, right? Las Vegas is 27th in schedule adjusted fantasy points to defense, giving up 10.2 points a game. So those are the 3 that you mentioned, and they are 3 of the, top 6 best matchups for defenses. Now they're all going to be popular. You're not going to surprise anybody there. But when it comes to defense, you got to try to make it make as much sense as possible.
And the randomness, right?
Oh no, it really does become random. Salary does not correlate to the production that you get. So that's why, pretty much everyone, it's not a secret, we look to pay down and play as cheap of a defense as we feel like we can get away with. Just so happens that everyone that you mentioned also fits as a good matchup. For me in cash, ideally I would have liked to have played the Patriots, but they were $600 more expensive than the Giants on DK. And if I could have had the salary to make it work where I didn't have to sacrifice anything at a skill position, I would have done so, but I didn't expect it to happen. So I am playing the Giants as well. From an MME perspective, there's a handful of defenses that I don't mind. Giants and Patriots lead the list. I've got some Ravens mixed in. I've got some Packers mixed in. I've got some Raiders mixed in, and I've got some Titans mixed in. That's just a little bit of where I'm at. Again, there's really no sense in breaking down these defenses too much, just because it's so random that anything that I say may be absolutely irrelevant in any one given week.
All it takes is one defensive touchdown in any team.
Oh, well, one defensive touchdown in their it's money.
Yeah,
I would pay up for a defense if you told me they were going to score a touchdown. But we had a guy here, Fit Check, says, "Hey guys, just subbed. Thanks for being on. Who should I flex? Brian Robinson Jr. or a questionable Josh Downs?" For me, that's an easy one. I'll put that back up. I'm going to take this as a DFS question. I'm not sure that it is or not, but I'm going to take it as a DFS question because that's what we're doing, and it's not clear here, so I didn't want to skip it. For me, I think it's a clear Josh Downs. I do think it's probably redraft because it wouldn't matter if he's questionable or not for DFS because we swap him out. But for me, it's a clear Josh Downs. And if it happened to be redraft anyways, I still would say Josh Downs. But
yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, pretty simple stuff.
That's
all right,
man. Yeah.
Well, with 10 minutes till lock here, I think we've kind of covered everything and then some. I think it's a pretty straightforward week, all things considered. A lot of it is just because there's not a lot of great options. So kind of forced my hand for cash. I think that, a lot of people are in the same boat, maybe not to the same extreme level that I have taken it, but that's what I found worked. Really appreciate you coming in, Keith. It's always great. I know I said on Friday that, when Chris is not able to participate or when I'm not able to participate, I really don't think that we lose anything by having you step in. So
I'll
it's
be
always
your
a pleasure.
third wheel anytime, Dave.
I love it, man. But why don't you go ahead and tell the people, where else they can find you, what you got going on, because I know you got a lot of great stuff.
I appreciate it. First of all, really appreciate it if you follow me on Twitter. That's at Keith Fleming. I try to put out as much info and stats from my Twitter account as possible. Obviously, share all my articles and stuff. On Fantasy Six Pack, I typically do 2 articles a week: a DFS Values that comes out earlier in the week, and a DFS Stacks that comes out later in the week. We have our own Thursday show. Me and my good buddy Joe the Brain Matz, the F6P DFS Kickoff Show, where we go over just for DraftKings. Play 6,900 and below. We give 2 plays, basically a median and a value play each week. And then on Wednesdays, you can find me on ESPN Northwest Florida. You can actually watch the show from either their Twitter or Facebook accounts. They also have an app for the radio station. And for 2 segments, I go on and we just talk DFS. It's football this time of the year and pivots to golf, which I also do DFS golf for Fantasy Six Pack.
Yeah, right.
When the year turns. So be sure to check that out. And again, I just absolutely love being on this DFS team. I think Dave will probably tell you I'm pestering you with questions because I'm like a sponge and I love learning from great resources
I almost
like
have
Dave
you blocked
and Chris.
at this point.
So, but anytime I'm happy to be on here, and it's the best DFS team I think there is.
Well, one of these weeks we'll have to try to make it work where, maybe I join you and Joe sometime.
I would love that.
Because it really sounds, I don't know Joe, other than just from you talking with him, but and maybe you could speak to this a little bit better, but I feel like Joe and I sound like we're kind of cut from the same cloth a little bit. So I feel like we may be very similar. So I think that would be interesting. But 5 minutes here to go before lock. I wish everyone the best of luck. I know we're going to sweep it in cash over here with F6P. So congratulations in advance to everyone in Discord for your cash sweep this week. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thanks for checking us in.
Have a great Sunday. Feel better, Chris, man.
Yeah, for sure.